The dinner lasted a full 2 hours. At first, Wyatt's heart had been pounding in his chest. He wouldn't have been too nervous meeting one or two of these guys, but having so many of them sitting in front of him at once was genuinely intimidating. Fortunately, after some conversation, Wyatt realized that this group of corporate titans, who always sounded so formal and scripted on camera, were really just normal people. They cracked jokes, they swore, and they even ventured into some off-color humor. Wyatt quickly adapted to the atmosphere. Once the meal was officially underway, Mr. Mason from Microsoft began a chat with him, intentionally or not, showering him with praise before finally steering the conversation toward Arc Interactive. Of all the people at the table, Mr. Mason was the only one in the gaming industry, so when he and Wyatt started talking shop, everyone else just sat back and watched the show. Wyatt played along, expertly deflecting and weaving through the conversation like a seasoned pro. After a few drinks, they finally arrived at the most critical phase, the price negotiation. Mason initially offered a full acquisition, but Wyatt refused. This was expected, so Mason quickly pivoted. 40% of the company, he said. We'll give you $40 million for it. Wyatt didn't give a clear answer. He just raised his glass and smiled. Mr. Mason, don't take advantage of me just because I'm young. Mason paused for a moment, then immediately raised his offer. $60 million. It's a nice, round number, and very appropriate. The implication was clear. I've done my research on your company. This is what it's worth. Wyatt just smiled. I'll have to think about it. The subtext was just as clear. Then, just like last time, I'll drag this out a little longer. Perhaps seeing that Wyatt wasn't an easy mark, Mason handed the reins back to him. All right, you tell me. What do you want? Wyatt's voice was sincere. Why don't we talk again after the 2 new games are released? Mason laughed. Do you have any idea that I can build a game just like yours in 2 months? How about a performance bet? Oh, now not only was Mason interested, but the rest of the table leaned in, their eyes glinting. Wyatt smiled. The upcoming Starfall party uses an in-game purchase model. If the game's gross revenue for the first 3 days of its public launch doesn't exceed $10 million, I lose. We'll go with your original price. But if I win, you add a zero to that $40 million. $400 million? For that price, I could just build a Microsoft version from scratch. Wyatt ignored the threat, his smile unwavering. I know, but Sony is also very interested in us. 2 months isn't a long time, but it's not short either. Are you really confident you can play catch-up and win? Besides, if we can gross over $10 million in the first 3 days, is $400 million really that much? You, more than anyone at this table, know just how profitable mobile gaming can be. Mason didn't take the bait, but he didn't deny it either. He just asked, does your company have any new plans in the pipeline? Of course. All right, we'll talk in half a month. Mason still hadn't agreed to the bet. He was still cautious, likely wanting to go back to his team and discuss it further. Wyatt wasn't in a hurry. What he truly valued was Microsoft's massive user base. With investments backing it, Arc Interactive certainly wasn't short on cash. After getting home, Wyatt excitedly recounted the evening's events to Khloe. She listened with rapt attention, her bright, clear eyes filled with amazement. After he finished, that feeling of crisis, you're advancing so quickly, and I'm just standing still, grew even stronger. Love held a completely different weight in the hearts of men and women. You could see it just by looking at popular fiction. In stories written for men, there were countless genres, but very few truly centered on love as the main plot. The male protagonists were always fighting for power, for strength. But stories for women were different. Domineering CEOs, emperors, princes, dukes, the heroines' lives always revolved around these figures. It was telling. A bold thought suddenly popped into Khloe's head. Should I pull a page and just lock this down for good? But she quickly dismissed the idea. She felt secure enough. What was hers wouldn't run away, and what wasn't hers couldn't be held on to. You were gone for so long. Did you eat a lot tonight? Not at all. We were just talking the whole time. I barely had a few bites. Khloe hopped up from the sofa. You sit. I'll make you some noodles. Can you manage on your own? I made noodles for myself tonight. Don't look down on me, okay? Ham. Want a fried egg? Yes. Add some ham. Yes. Khloe was soon bustling around the kitchen. Usually, the two of them were in there together, so being alone left her feeling a bit clumsy. But 20 minutes later, she emerged carrying a large bowl of noodles. A perfect fried egg rested on top, flanked by 2 pieces of bok choy, and a sprinkle of chopped green onions floated on the broth. It looked incredibly appetizing. Wyatt's eyes widened in surprise. You're this good now? Of course, Khloe replied, crinkling her nose, not an ounce of modesty in her tone. Wyatt reached out and ruffled her hair. Nice, very nice. Here, eat up. Taking the chopsticks from her, Wyatt picked up the bowl and took a large bite. Khloe sat across from him, her hands cupping her cheeks, and asked expectantly, "How is it?" Wyatt nodded. "Delicious." Although it looked amazing, it was actually quite bland. Wyatt could tell she had forgotten to add salt, but he didn't say a word. Using the excuse of needing a spoon for the broth, he got up, went to the kitchen, and discreetly mixed a spoonful of salt into the soup before returning to his seat and eating with gusto. He finished the entire bowl, leaving it so clean there wasn't even a drop of soup left. The sight gave Khloe a huge sense of satisfaction. She then volunteered to wash the bowl and even tidied up the kitchen. Wyatt joked, "When your dad comes next month and sees you waiting on me like this at home, is he going to want to kill me? Who cares what he thinks?" "Huh, when are your parents coming?" "About 2 more weeks." "What about your mom?" "My mom should be here a few days before yours. She said work isn't busy, so she took some vacation time. She wants to come early and hang out with Aunt Elaine." Wyatt nodded. They didn't stay downstairs for long before heading up. After her shower, Khloe stood at her vanity in a thin nightgown, applying body lotion. The house had heated floors, so even walking barefoot wasn't cold. Wyatt had been driving around all day and was exhausted. He slipped under the covers and lay on the bed, not even bothering with his phone. Khloe glanced back at him, a little disappointed. Normally, when Wyatt saw her hiking up her pant leg to rub lotion on her leg, he would have rushed over, grinning lecherously, and said, let me. Khloe pouted, turned off the light, and slipped into bed. Wyatt, as usual, turned on his side and wrapped his arm around her. And then, nothing. Khloe, as if suddenly struck with insomnia, tossed and turned. Wyatt watched her shift from her side to her back and finally couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong with you?" At that moment, a flash of inspiration hit her. She remembered some of the private advice Isabel had given her. She quickly burrowed under the covers, pulling the blanket up to hide half her face, and whispered softly, "It's tribute time." The Khloes beta for Starfall Party went smoothly. It had already topped the most anticipated list on several Android app stores, even surpassing many major IP games from established publishers. The game's overall art style was inspired by Fall Guys, while the gameplay was a hybrid of that and other popular party games. According to company reports, the gender ratio of pre-registered users was 1-to-5 in favor of women. Female users seemed to adore this type of game. After the Summit Society dinner, Wyatt had Leo continue to pump money into marketing, and the hype remained consistently high. On January 24th, Miranda came straight from Philadelphia to New York City. By the time Wyatt got the call, she was already at their front door. She hadn't given him a heads up because she'd heard from Khloe a few days prior that he was incredibly busy. Wyatt was stuck at the office and couldn't get away, so he quickly had Khloe drive home first. 15 minutes later, Khloe pulled up to the house in Wyatt's A8. When Miranda saw her daughter get out of the driver's seat, she asked in surprise, "Where's Wyatt?" "He has a meeting he can't get out of. I came back alone for now." "You dare to drive by yourself now?" Khloe smiled. "I've been able to for a while now." Miranda smiled back, linking her arm with her daughter's as they went inside to tour the new home that belonged to her and Wyatt. After looking at every room, they returned to the living room. Khloe went to the kitchen to get her a glass of hot water, but when she handed the cup to Miranda, her mother froze for a moment. Never before, when coming home, had she received this kind of treatment. Miranda was suddenly struck by the feeling that her daughter had grown up. It was a strange sensation, as if to say, "I am her mother, yes, but today I also have another identity. I am a guest in their home." If this had been Charles, he would have surely felt a pang of sadness. But Miranda, also a woman, was delighted. "Mom, what are you looking at?" Miranda gave a gentle smile, took the glass, and said, "Do you go to the office with Wyatt every day now?" "Yeah. It's so boring being at home alone." Khloe had just sat down when she remembered Wyatt's instructions as she was leaving the office. She quickly stood up again. "Mom, did you eat on the way here?" Miranda shook her head softly. "Let's wait for Wyatt to get back, and we can all go out to eat together. Just wait. I'll go make you a bowl of noodles." Without waiting for Miranda to refuse, Khloe ran to the kitchen to show off her skills. Miranda curiously got up to follow, but was gently pushed out by Khloe. So she stood at the doorway, cup in hand, watching quietly. Khloe expertly tied on an apron and began her preparations in an orderly fashion. First, she washed a head of lettuce, then chopped a sausage and some green onions, and even smashed a clove of garlic. After a quick rinse of her hands, she turned on the stove, sprayed a little oil in the pan, and quickly fried an egg. Once the egg was done, she poured in water, and within seconds, the broth turned a milky white. She added the noodles, the seasoning, and finally poured the contents of the pot into a large bowl, sprinkling a handful of green onions on top. A bowl of home-style noodles practiced many times over, was ready. "Tada! All done." Miranda sat down at the table and looked at the bowl Khloe placed before her. She smiled happily. "Your father is always telling me that since you moved in with Wyatt, you must be ordering takeout every day. I never expected you to learn how to cook. Your mother underestimated you. You should try it first. The last time I made noodles for Wyatt, it looked just as good, but I only realized afterward that I forgot the salt." He didn't say anything when he was eating it. Nope. When I asked him, he said he was afraid of crushing my confidence. He always treats me like a kid, thinking I don't know anything. Miranda was filled with emotion. All she said was, "That's a good thing." Khloe hummed in non-committal agreement. Just as she was about to call Wyatt and ask if he needed a ride, little Holly appeared at the living room door. She peeked her head in, then pulled it back, then peeked in again. Khloe spotted her immediately. "Holly-chun, you're not at home doing your homework after school? What are you doing here again?" Only then did Holly emerge, looking sheepish. "I'm on vacation. Come in." Holly bolted inside. Seeing a stranger in the house, she pointed directly at Miranda and asked curiously, "Auntie Khloe, who is she?" "She's my mom." Holly immediately bowed a full 90 degrees and said in a sweet, childish voice, "Hello, Annie." The scene left Miranda torn between laughter and tears. Khloe quickly grabbed her by the ear and scolded, "What did you just call me?" "Auntie Khloe. She's my mom. And you're still calling her auntie?" Holly fell into deep thought. After a long moment, her eyes widened. "Then should I call her grandma?" Miranda nearly sprayed a mouthful of noodles. Her best friend, Elaine, had just had a son, and now she was already a grandma. Miranda grabbed a napkin, wiped her mouth, and asked with a smile, "Khloe, she is—" "Oh, the neighbor's daughter. She's a little terror. Only Wyatt can handle her." After explaining, Khloe handed the remote to Holly and said gruffly, "I know you came over to watch cartoons. Sit still and don't run around." "Okay." After the little girl had watched 2 episodes of PAW Patrol on the sofa, Shelley came looking for her. Seeing Miranda, she said hello, then embarrassedly scooped Holly up and carried her away. "If you sneak over to Uncle Wyatt's house by yourself again, I'm going to have your dad spank you." "Umph, Daddy would never spank me." "Then I'll spank you." "Me, Mommy, what did you say?" Just as mother and daughter were leaving the yard, Wyatt returned, having hitched a ride with Chris. Seeing Holly and Shelley coming out of his house, Wyatt got out of the car and pinched Holly's chubby little cheek. "Were you watching cartoons at my house again?" "No." Holly opened her mouth as if to bite him, and Wyatt quickly let go. He patted her head gently and asked with a smile, "What did you get on your final exams?" The question hit a sore spot. Holly went silent and stomped off toward her own house. Shelley shot Wyatt a helpless look and hurried after her. Wyatt walked into the house, and the moment he saw Miranda, he put on a long-suffering expression and whined, "Mom, you're finally here. You have to be the judge. Khloe bullies me day in and day out." Khloe, who complains the moment they see someone. "Are you insane?" Wyatt sat next to Miranda, acting like a child tattling, and began to list Khloe's crimes one by one. Seeing Wyatt leaning his head on her mother's shoulder like a pathetic baby, Khloe rolled her eyes and couldn't bear to watch anymore. Miranda suppressed her laughter, treating it as the playful banter of a young couple. The brownstone had 3 floors. The second floor was all bedrooms, reserved for future parents and children. 3 rooms faced the sun, with a children's room and a playroom at the back. Miranda stayed in the innermost sunny room on the second floor. The bed was already made. Khloe had called Wyatt up to do it while Miranda was in the shower. The heating had been on for a while, and even though it was the dead of winter, it wasn't cold to be in pajamas indoors. After leaning back against the headboard, Miranda took out her phone and started a video call with Charles. Back in Riverwood, Charles answered quickly, smiling. "You're in bed already?" "Yeah," Miranda said. "The 2 of them are doing great in New York. All our worrying was for nothing." "How are they great?" "The house is spotless, and their relationship is as strong as ever." "Oh, and your daughter is quite capable now. Not only can she drive by herself, but her cooking has improved immensely. It's a shame you missed out on the noodles she made this evening. You're making me not want to go to work tomorrow." "I've already decided. When they get married and have kids, I'm quitting my job." "You're quitting with such a high salary? Are we going to be living on air then?" Miranda knew Charles was joking and played along. "If I don't have money, I can ask Wyatt for it." "Would you have the nerve to ask?" Upstairs. The moment the door closed, Khloe kicked Wyatt in the butt. "Are you sick? What did I do? My mom just got here, and the first thing you do is complain? Saying I bully you? When have I ever bullied you? Aren't you bullying me right now?" "Bullshit." With his mother-in-law downstairs, Wyatt felt unusually brave. He threatened, "If you lay another hand on me, I'm going downstairs to find your mom right now." Khloe thought, it's already dark outside. My mom is probably asleep. What are you going to do down there? So, she unleashed another flurry of wild punches on his back. Wyatt endured it for a moment, but seeing that Khloe had no intention of stopping, he deliberately started crying out, "Ow, ow, ow." Fearing Miranda would hear from downstairs, Khloe leaped onto Wyatt's back, her hands clamped tightly over his mouth. MMPH. MMPH. Shut up. Wyatt, with Khloe on his back, walked to the edge of the bed and fell backwards stiffly. His 180-pound frame landed on top of her, instantly pinning her down. She kicked her legs, but couldn't stop herself from cursing. "Get off. You're crushing me. I can't move." There was very little traffic on the street at night, and the houses on either side were unoccupied. Combined with the naturally higher pitch of a woman's voice, her words easily penetrated the single layer of reinforced concrete and reached Miranda's ears. "You're crushing me. I can't move." What a wild thing to say. She glanced up at the ceiling, her expression becoming intriguing. With Miranda here, Khloe naturally didn't go to the office with Wyatt every day. The next day, she and her mother went to Elaine's house. Now that they had moved, the Upper East Side was much closer, only about a half-hour drive. They took the car, which meant for the next week, Chris had to make a detour to pick Wyatt up in the morning and drop him off in the evening. This continued until the morning of January 30th. Wyatt arrived at Arc Interactive early that day. The company's programmers, normally a bunch of night owls, had all shown up early as well. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Starfall Party officially launched. Today was a crucial day for Wyatt, for all the employees, and for Arc Interactive. Everyone wanted to get the first-hand data on Starfall Party as soon as it was available. Mr. Wyatt, Mr. Chee, Mr. Duan, the back end is stable. Have you run the server stress tests? Don't worry, we've done it several times. We even spent a lot of money on backup servers. There will be no issues on that front. The bug from the beta feedback have all been fixed, right? Yes, fixed immediately. I've already checked on my end. How many pre-registrations do we have on our official website? Over 3.3 million. How did it get so high? We ran a promotion. If you pre-registered on the website, you got a free skin and some in-game items. Good. Wyatt glanced at the time and walked into the conference room. A group followed him in, while another group sat at their desks, their eyes darting to the clock in the corner of their computer screens. At the same time, in Microsoft's Redmond headquarters, Mr. Mason was signing documents in his office when he suddenly remembered something. He looked up at the short-haired woman in his office. "What's the date today?" "The 30th. That new game from Arc Interactive, does it launch today?" "Yes, at 10 o'clock. That's in 20 minutes. But we have a meeting right after. Postpone it to the afternoon. Download their new game on my phone. I want to try it out later." "Understood." Apex Capital, in the chairman's office. "Michael, Wyatt's company is launching a new game today. Keep an eye on it." Michael, who had been called into the office, asked with a puzzled look, "Huh? Uncle, since when are you interested in games?" Robert Zhao shot his nephew a glare and sighed. "I want to see if Microsoft's 40 million is going to turn into 400 million. Oh, 9:57. In the conference room, someone finally spoke up. 3 minutes left. A little while later. 1 minute, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds. Time. Everyone in the conference room simultaneously pulled out their phones and logged into the game. Everything's normal. I registered and got in. I'm in too. Wyatt glanced at the familiar game screen and quickly ordered, "Have someone monitor the revenue stream. Report to me every 10 minutes. I'll just write a script to project the revenue onto the big screen outside." "Good." Registered users at 100,000. 150,000. We're at 300,000 now. Wyatt instructed, "All right, everyone stop standing around here. Get back to your posts. We can't have a single mistake today. And remember, if a bug appears in our game, send out an apology announcement immediately. Don't be stingy with rewards and compensation. Also, make sure the parental controls and spending limits for minors are solid. Don't give the media anything to write about." "Understood. The revenue numbers are in. How is it over $300,000 already?" "There's a delay. A lot of people bought the starter pack the moment they logged in. It refreshed again. It's climbing so fast." Wyatt stayed at the company all morning. When he left at noon, he glanced at the real-time data and revenue stream, then clapped Leo on the shoulder and smiled. "Stop staring. We did it," Leo said blankly. We did. That evening, Wyatt received a text from Mr. Mason. It was a very short message. "We can talk seriously now." Perhaps no one, except Wyatt, expected Starfall Party to generate so much heat after its launch. On the first day alone, revenue exceeded $6 million. Gaming was a high-profit industry. If you could make a game successful, you were essentially printing money. The timing was perfect, right as students were on winter break and just before the holidays. Starfall Party didn't lose momentum. It remained incredibly popular. The next day, the game shot up to the #2 spot on the App Store's free games chart, second only to League of Legends. It was at this point that Microsoft's negotiation team flew directly from Redmond to New York City to officially begin a new round of investment talks with Arc Interactive. Wyatt had originally wanted Leo to lead the negotiation, but when Leo heard Wyatt's opening demand was $400 million, he waved his hands frantically and said he couldn't do it. In the end, Wyatt had to lead the team himself to hash out the details with Microsoft. As a result, when his parents, David and Sarah, came all the way from Riverwood, Wyatt didn't even have time to pick them up. The train station was a chaotic mess of cars and people, and Wyatt didn't feel comfortable letting Khloe drive there. In the end, it was Miranda who drove over and brought them back to the house. By the 5th day of negotiations, Microsoft still wouldn't budge. They refused to agree to the $400 million price. Seeing the talks at a stalemate, as the meeting was wrapping up, Wyatt said bluntly, "Today is Friday. We could take the weekend off. When we come back on Monday, if we still can't agree on the price, then starting Tuesday, we'll add $5 million to the $400 million base price every single day." Mr. Wyatt, you can't be serious. Oh, right. I forgot to tell you. Yesterday, Starfall Party's daily active users reached 15 million. That number will definitely go up over the holidays. I'm sure you all know what a game with over 15 million daily active users means. Wyatt smiled, then promptly stood up and left the conference room. Leo, yeah, you can launch Game Over. I'm surrounded by beauties. Set the price at $8, like I said, and half off for the first 3 days. Got it. I'll take care of it. Wyatt had already watched the entire playthrough of Game Over. From his perspective, the version Carl Chun had shot was even better than the one he remembered. The main reason was that the lead actresses were young, beautiful, had great figures, and their acting was all on point. To be blunt, the game was designed to fulfill male fantasies. Some scenes inevitably bordered on suggestive, but the actresses' inherent innocence, clashing with their in-game personas, created a strange and wonderful chemistry. On Saturday morning, the game was launched without any warning on the Arc Interactive platform, becoming the first pay-to-play game available. In reality, pay-to-play games were not mainstream in the American market. The consumer base was tiny compared to online games. But Arc Interactive had a massive user base. Even if only 1 in 100 people were willing to buy it, that was still a very respectable number. In this era, traffic was king. This was why Wyatt hadn't enabled in-game purchases or inserted ads in the earlier minigames. When the game went live, Wyatt was still fast asleep. At 9:30, at Sarah's behest, Khloe went up to the 3rd floor and dragged him out of bed. "Get up, it's almost 10 o'clock. She had just managed to pull him up, but as soon as she let go, he flopped back down. Left with no choice, Khloe pinched his nose, forcing him to open his eyes. "Stop sleeping, get up. Don't bother me. I don't have work today. Let me sleep in. Your parents are downstairs waiting for you." "Waiting for what?" Khloe suppressed a smile. "When you came back last night, your mom must have thought you looked pale and had lost weight. So this morning, she sent your dad to the farmer's market to buy a big hen. She said she's going to make chicken soup to help you. Recuperate. Recuperate." Wyatt threw off the covers and sat up. "Recuperate from what? Who needs to recuperate in their early 20s? That's insane." Khloe shrugged. "It has nothing to do with me. I just said you were working on a big deal and were a little tired." Wyatt slipped on his slippers and went into the bathroom. After washing up, he went straight to the 1st floor living room. Before he could even speak, Sarah waved him over. "Son, come here. Teach your mom how to use this pressure cooker. I've been pressing it for ages and nothing's happening." "I'll teach you," Khloe said, walking over quickly to give instructions. Miranda chimed in. "Wyatt, there are some dumplings in the microwave for you." "Oh, Mom, where's Dad?" On the way back, he saw some people fishing and went over to chat. With 3 extra adults in the house, Wyatt and Khloe were completely freed from household chores. After lunch, Wyatt drove the whole family to go shopping for the holidays. There were less than 10 days until the new year. This was the first time his parents and his future in-laws were spending the holiday in New York, so the necessary rituals were essential. David sat in the passenger seat, looking at the towering skyscrapers on either side, and said excitedly, "Son, you really bought a great house. It's quiet, not far from the city, and the neighborhood is nice. I heard that the houses on your street are going for over $4 million now. Is that true?" Wyatt chuckled. "Dad, you're something else. You just got here yesterday, and you've already figured out the local real estate prices?" David laughed too. "I met a fellow fisherman, and he told me, you need to stop posting pictures of my house on Facebook. These days, besides your family and real friends, nobody wants to see other people doing well. David, are you looking for trouble again? I'm deleting it. I'm deleting it right now. As if Wyatt's words had struck a chord, David quickly deleted the post he had made the day before. Wyatt paused for a moment, then added, "From now on, you all need to be more low-key. A lot of people will probably already know I started a company. There's no hiding it now. Son, how's the company doing today? It's fine. Doing well. I heard people say your company makes hundreds of millions a year. That can't be true, right?" Wyatt nodded. "It's not." David immediately smiled. "See, I knew it. How could it be that easy to make money? Everyone knows life is hard and money is harder to earn." "Dad, you misunderstood. What I mean is, it's more than a few hundred million a year." Huh. The three adults in the car, including Miranda, all froze. Then, Wyatt slowed the car down and pointed to a magnificent building that had recently been completed. "You see that building over there? The one that's all glass on the outside. We see it. That building is mine." "What did you say? That building is yours?" Wyatt just hummed a quiet confirmation. David still didn't believe it, insisting that Wyatt pull over and show him. Wyatt had no choice but to drive to the building's entrance and lead the family inside. Even though it was almost the holidays, a construction crew was still working on the interior to meet the deadline. The site supervisor saw Wyatt arrive and came jogging over. "Mr. Wyatt, you're here. How's it going? How much longer until it's done?" "The interior tiling and ceilings should all be finished before the new year. After that, another 3 months should see it fully completed. We have over 20 workers in here every day. You get back to it. I'm just stopping by to take a look." "Okay." The upper floors were still under heavy construction, so Wyatt didn't take them up. He just led them on a quick tour of the ground floor before they went back outside. David didn't say a word the entire time. It was only after they were back in the car that he said, in a joking tone, "After the holidays, I really need to go see if our family's ancestral plot struck oil or something." "Don't talk nonsense," Sarah said, slapping the back of his seat. The whole car erupted in laughter. After Game Over, I'm Surrounded by Beauties went live. Many of the first people to download and play were streamers. This type of live-action interactive game was a novelty in the US, and streamers looking to chase the latest trend were naturally eager to try it out. Thanks to the 6 lead actresses' solid performances and the outrageous plot, the chat rooms of streamers playing the game were incredibly lively. The game quickly spread through the streamer community by word of mouth, and its popularity skyrocketed. In just 2 days, a video of the game hit the top of the YouTube trending charts. Unsurprisingly, sales began to climb at a dizzying rate. It wasn't just the game that became popular. The 6 lead actresses all gained a significant number of fans. The most popular among them was Ashley Young, who played the character Claire Lynn. Her role in the game included many showcasing moments, especially the scene where she showed off her figure in yoga pants and a tight top. Although nothing was explicitly revealed, it just left people feeling a mix of fragrant, sultry, and tantalizing desire. The game's review section was also filled with interesting comments. "Been single for 30 years. I've finally found the feeling of being in love. Damn it, it's an $8 game, and my 3 roommates watched the whole thing over my shoulder without paying a cent. Who says we don't have sci-fi games? Those yoga pants are a weapon of mass destruction. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. In real life, I spend $200 to treat a goddess to dinner, and she calls me a simp. In the game, I spend $8 and get to date 6 beauties. How can you say this isn't a good game? I had a vasectomy yesterday. Played this all day, and all my stitches burst. Claire Lynn has me completely hooked." So, on Monday morning, as soon as Wyatt and his team walked into the conference room, the first thing the Microsoft team lead said was, "What are the sales numbers for your new game?" Wyatt didn't say a thing. Leo beside him smiled. 110,000. We sold over 30,000 copies last night alone." The lead asked again, "What was the cost?" Evan Fong didn't know this, so everyone looked at Wyatt. He smiled. Excluding the filming equipment, probably less than $300,000. The main expenses were the crew's salaries and the actors' fees. After saying that, Wyatt twisted the knife. "We've already made our money back." One moment, the lead said, standing up, "I need to make a call." He walked out of the conference room alone and dialed Mr. Mason's number. "Hello, what are the numbers?" "Sales are at 110,000, and it only cost them 300,000 to make." "What's your take?" This Wyatt is a genius. With him at the helm, Arc Interactive has limitless potential. The assessment from our end is that our chances of winning aren't good. Spending another 2 months developing a competing product now would likely be a waste. So what's the company's decision? We'll negotiate at the $400 million mark, but we need to hash out some of the finer details of the terms to be in our favor. Understood. After the lead finished the call and returned, his tone had completely changed. Both sides amicably agreed on the first and most important point of negotiation. They then moved on to discussing the more detailed clauses of the contract. There were many twists and turns. Microsoft's legal team was no joke, but fortunately, Wyatt had given Travis Tang and Irene a heads up long ago, and they had done extensive prep work. The two sides quickly reached an agreement on many clauses. But for a partnership of this scale, there was a lot to discuss. For the next 3 days, both sides continued to grind out the contract, finally reaching a consensus on Thursday afternoon. Mr. Wyatt, it's a pleasure to be working with you. I hope this will be a mutually beneficial partnership. I'm sure it will be. I'll arrange for the contract signing next week and will notify you of the subsequent steps. No problem. Then we'll be on our way. All right, take care. Watching the Microsoft team leave, the remaining people in the conference room all breathed a sigh of relief. Wyatt smiled. Everyone has worked hard during this time. It's too late to arrange the annual party this year, so we'll talk about it after the new year. Leo, tell the team later. This year's annual bonus will be a 16-month salary for all employees. The tech department will get an additional bonus based on their overtime hours. Okay, if they want to cash out their stock options, give them priority for transfer. Evan Fong smiled. The company's first round of funding is for Microsoft. The shares they hold will only become more valuable. I don't think many people will want to sell. Not necessarily, Dexter Duan chuckled. A lot of guys aren't married yet. They might be thinking of cashing out to buy a car or a house. Wyatt had already considered this. It was true that everyone in the company had shares, but shares didn't equal voting rights. Even if they held on to their stock, Wyatt still had absolute control over the company. All right, you guys can get back to work. Dexter, Evan, Travis, and Irene left the conference room one by one. Leo was about to leave when he caught Wyatt's eye and sat back down. Only after everyone else had left did Wyatt say, "Besides me, you have the most shares in the company. Dexter and Evan's shares combined are about what you have. You can sell a small portion this time. The money should be enough for you to settle down in New York. If you're interested, I'll send you a realtor's contact later. You and Sophie can't live in a hotel forever." All right, spare me the sappy talk. My parents are staying with me in New York for the holidays this year. Now that the busy stuff is mostly done, you should bring Sophie over for dinner sometime. Okay. The contract with Microsoft was finally settled before the new year. The day after it was signed, Starfall Party went live on the Xbox and PC Game Pass, and with a massive influx of traffic from Microsoft, the game's daily active users and revenue soared to new heights. It was, without a doubt, the hottest mobile game of the holiday season. On the eve of Lunar New Year, which also happened to be Valentine's Day, Wyatt drove to the train station in the morning to pick up Charles. For the first 10 minutes of the drive back, neither of them spoke. The atmosphere in the car was as awkward as it could get. Finally, it was Charles who couldn't stand it anymore and broke the silence, and the two began to chat, one sentence at a time. Wyatt didn't go straight home. He stopped at a flower shop and bought 3 bouquets of roses. When Charles saw Wyatt return with 3 bouquets, he didn't react at first. But after taking out his phone and checking the date, he realized it was also Valentine's Day. Charles felt a pang of shame. In the past, whenever Wyatt would show affection to Miranda and Khloe, Charles would always think it was just for show. Now, he realized that the very thing he looked down upon was precisely what women wanted most. A little surprise to brighten up a mundane life really could make love last longer. Wyatt kept 2 bouquets for himself and handed one of the red rose bouquets to Charles. Charles accepted it calmly. There was a card on it. At the top, in large letters, were the words, "I love you." Below that, in smaller print, it read, "I don't believe in forever. I just love you more today than yesterday." Charles felt a little embarrassed, but after a glance, he put the card back where it was. When the car pulled into the driveway, the whole family came out of the living room. Wyatt got out first, then walked around to the passenger side and took out the 2 bouquets. He handed one to Khloe and the other to Sarah. At that moment, Charles also got out of the car with his flowers. Miranda knew in her heart that Wyatt must have bought them for him, but she didn't mind. Charles was a blockhead anyway. Just receiving flowers today was enough to make her happy. Khloe took the flowers and smiled. "Perfect. We can put these in a vase on the table for the new year." Wyatt immediately said, "I bought you flowers. Aren't you going to give me a kiss?" If no one else had been around, Khloe would have at most pretended not to hear. But with both her parents and Wyatt's parents standing right there, her face instantly flushed with embarrassment. "Shut up." She glared back at Wyatt and hurried back into the house. The few people at the door all laughed at the scene. After closing the door, Miranda took Charles upstairs to unpack. Sarah started preparing lunch in the kitchen. David, who could never sit still, was kept out of the way by Sarah. A few days ago, Wyatt had downloaded the Arc Interactive app for him, so he could play poker to pass the time. Khloe was carefully arranging the flowers, while Wyatt sat on the sofa and called Leo. The guy had driven back to Riverwood overnight. If the journey was smooth, he should have arrived around 2 or 3 in the morning. Wyatt listened for a while, but Leo didn't pick up. Figuring he was probably asleep, he hung up. Many people probably thought Leo's job as director of operations at Arc Interactive was just a sinecure, that he was just riding Wyatt's coattails. But Wyatt knew that for Leo to get along so well with the company's programmers, he must have put in a lot of effort. Whether in a company or in the government, 2 types of people are indispensable: those who can get things done and those who can manage relationships. Only Sophie probably knew how much effort Leo had put in. Spending the new year in New York meant they could skip the ritual of visiting relatives. But during the holidays, Wyatt had to take Khloe to Miami. Chris and Paige were getting married on the 10th day of the new year. As a roommate, colleague, and good friend, Wyatt had to be there. Sarah had already quit her job, so she could go back to Riverwood whenever she wanted. David, a veteran slacker at his job, had saved up a lot of vacation time and could stay until after the Lantern Festival. The couple planned to return to Riverwood then. As for Charles and Miranda, Charles had to be back in Riverwood by the 7th, and Miranda would leave with him. She would go back to work in Philadelphia for a week and then return before the Lantern Festival. After all, it was only an hour by Sella from Philly to Penn Station. Wyatt, I need to tell you something. What's up? My mom wants me to ask you if Anne Elaine and little Evan can come over tomorrow for New Year's Eve. Their nanny is definitely going home for the holiday, and Evan is still so little. Before Khloe could finish, Wyatt interrupted. I almost forgot about that. We'll go pick them up tomorrow morning. Okay, I'll go tell my mom. No. Wyatt chuckled. You guys can just make that decision. Why do you have to ask me? Khloe smiled. That's what I said, that you definitely agree. But my mom still wanted me to ask you. She said that now. You're the head of the... Head of what? Nothing. Khloe was about to bolt, but Wyatt grabbed her and pulled her into his lap. Tell me. I won't let you go until you do. You heard me just now. Then say it again. No. Khloe was still stubborn. Wyatt hooked his leg around hers, his other arm wrapped firmly around her waist, and he gently pinched her cheeks with his other hand. Tell me. Khloe pouted in protest, then finally relented. My mom said you're the head of the house now. Did you hear me? Are you satisfied? Wyatt leaned down to kiss her, but Khloe immediately pressed her lips together in a gesture of defiance to the death. But with just his thumb and forefinger, Wyatt easily made her part her lips. Just as he was about to go in for the kill, bang! The bedroom door was suddenly pushed open from the outside. Sarah stood in the doorway, calling out, "Son, your car keys." Her words died in her throat. 3 pairs of eyes stared at each other. After a stunned silence of 3 seconds, Sarah slammed the door shut and called out from the other side, as if to convince herself. Mom saw nothing. Nothing at all. You two carry on, carry on. Wyatt said, exasperated. Mom, next time you come in, can you knock first? My bad. What's up? Where are your car keys? I want your dad to drive to the market early tomorrow to buy a couple of fish. Wyatt sighed. They're in the car. Oh, Sarah quickly scurried downstairs. Khloe reached out, pinched a piece of flesh on Wyatt's stomach, and twisted it hard before wriggling free and heading downstairs. Hearing the cry from upstairs, David asked curiously, what happened to your son? Nothing. He probably just got bitten by the cat. This year's Lunar New Year's Eve was especially lively. Not only was the whole family there, but Elaine and baby Evan had joined them as well. When Wyatt and Khloe went to pick them up in the morning, Elaine had adamantly refused to come, saying that the holiday was a time for family and it wouldn't be right for her to impose. Wyatt tried to persuade her for a long time to no avail. In the end, he had to resort to force. He unceremoniously picked her up, then had Khloe carry little Evan, and was about to physically carry them out when Elaine finally relented. With a 1-year-old in the house, the atmosphere was completely different. The little guy was a terror, running around the house in his split pants and a diaper. He wouldn't listen to anyone else. Only Wyatt could control him. As soon as Wyatt picked him up, the little guy would immediately put on a pitiful expression. Anyone else would have softened, but Wyatt didn't fall for it. If you run around again, I'm going to spank you. Seeing Wyatt grab Evan again, Khloe slapped him on the butt. Are you sick? He's only 1. Wyatt didn't let go. He said fiercely, say dada. Little Evan obediently complied. Khloe glanced nervously at Elaine in the kitchen, quickly covering Wyatt's mouth. Don't teach him that. He calls you brother. Wyatt ignored her and pointed at Khloe. Say mama. Little Evan blinked and chirped mama. Only then did Wyatt contentedly put him down. The moment the little guy's feet touched the ground, he scurried off to find Elaine and tattle, but he couldn't speak clearly yet. After a long, pitiful babble, he was placated with a bottle of milk. In the afternoon, the task of putting up decorations fell to Wyatt. A large banner for the front gate, another for the living room door, and a festive red lantern hung on every door inside. Armed with 3M tape, Wyatt quickly put up the 2 large banners outside. If this were Riverwood, you'd hear firecrackers going off one after another after lunch. But New York City banned fireworks, and without those sounds, the new year felt much quieter. Starting around 5 in the evening, Wyatt's phone began buzzing incessantly with texts and messages wishing him a happy new year. The group chats for his companies were blowing up with 99+ notifications. Wyatt decided to reply to everyone later that night and set his phone to do not disturb. Of the 5 adults in the house, 4 were busy in the kitchen. David had been in there too, but after being deemed clumsy, he was kicked out by Sarah and was now helping Elaine with the baby. Seeing that Khloe had nothing to do, Wyatt found a deck of cards somewhere. "Want to play?" Khloe put down her phone. "How do we play?" "We each get 17 cards. The rules are like 3-person poker. First one to run out of cards wins. If you win, for every card I have left, I'll give you lucky money tonight." Khloe's eyes lit up. "How much per card?" $10,000. "Deal." "And if I win?" Khloe pouted. "You name it." Wyatt smiled. "If I win, you. What? You give me a massage. Or wash my feet. That's not too much to ask, right? I've always done it for you for free." Khloe snorted. "That was because you wanted to. So, do you agree or not?" "Come on. Deal." Wyatt quickly dealt the cards, even letting Khloe go first. But Khloe had learned to play from Wyatt and was still a novice. In the first 5 hands, apart from winning the second with a lucky draw, she was crushed in all the others. A bet. Don't you dare back out later. Deal the cards." Seeing Wyatt's mischievous grin, Khloe knew she had little chance of winning on her own. She looked up at David and said pleadingly, "Uncle, can you come teach me? I can't beat him." How could David refuse? He sat down next to Khloe and began to coach her. David was, after all, a seasoned veteran. After a few hands, the score was tied. Wyatt said, exasperated, "Dad, go find somewhere cool to sit." But Khloe said, "Uncle, for every card I win, he has to give me $10,000 in lucky money. If you help me win, I'll split the money with you." No problem. He's no match for me at cards." Wyatt was soon at a disadvantage. Seeing that he was losing more and more, and that it was getting late, he threw down his cards. "I'm done playing. You better remember to Venmo me the money tonight." Wyatt feigned ignorance. What did you say?" Seeing this, Khloe first kicked him in the leg, then immediately ran to the kitchen to tattle. Little Evan followed her, and every time Khloe said something, he would babble along as if helping. Around 7 in the evening, Wyatt plugged in the hot pot. In the kitchen, Charles and David began bringing dishes to the table. At 8 o'clock, as the big New Year's TV special began, dinner was finally served. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Ever since learning how successful Wyatt's business had become, Sarah had stopped being as frugal as before. While not extravagant, she wasn't stingy with necessary expenses. Tonight's dinner was the most lavish New Year's feast Wyatt had ever had. The table was laden with delicacies from land and sea. The family reminisced about the past, chatted about old times, and enjoyed the lively atmosphere. After dinner, they cracked sunflower seeds and watched the TV special. Wyatt also took this time to reply to all the New Year messages. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Evan had fallen asleep long ago. Elaine, not feeling comfortable leaving him alone upstairs, also went up around 11. After 11, David, Sarah, and Charles all started to look sleepy. Khloe let out a few yawns, scooted closer to Wyatt, and soon fell asleep on his shoulder. Hearing her steady breathing, Wyatt gestured for Sarah to turn down the TV volume. Miranda was used to staying up late and wasn't sleepy yet. Seeing that everyone else was tired, she whispered, "If you're tired, you can go up to bed." Wyatt shook his head. "This is the first New Year we're spending in this house. We should stay up until midnight. It's almost time anyway." Khloe was sleeping soundly. At first, she would stir slightly, but later, she fell into a deep sleep and didn't move at all. The clock hand moved from 11 to 12. As the familiar strains of Auld Lang Syne began to play, Wyatt finally carried Khloe up to the 3rd floor. Perhaps his movements were too big, because as he rounded the corner on the 2nd floor, Khloe opened her eyes. "You're awake?" "Yeah." Wyatt continued up the stairs, holding her. Khloe wrapped her arms tightly around his neck, her head resting on his shoulder. Hearing the chatter of the adults downstairs, and being held in the arms of the person she loved most, Khloe felt incredibly content. She moved a little closer to his ear and whispered, "Wyatt, I'm so happy." Wyatt chuckled. "It's just the 2 of us, and you're still calling me Wyatt?" Khloe said happily, "Husband, that's more like it." After New Year's Day, the holiday spirit vanished in a flash. It seemed as if the city had emptied out 2 days before the holiday, And then, starting from the 5th day, it was suddenly flooded with people again. On the 7th day, David and Sarah were going to Philadelphia to visit Khloe's aunt, and they heard Khloe's other aunt would be there too. Since Charles and Miranda were planning to head back to Riverwood, Wyatt let David drive his car and drop them off at the train station on the way. Chris and Paige's wedding was set for the 10th day of the new year. Sam, being far up north, couldn't get a flight and would have to miss it. Alex, being a New York local, would naturally be joining Wyatt on the trip to Miami. Originally, Alex hadn't planned on asking Renee to come along. After all, it was the holidays, and there were plenty of things to do at home and at her shop. But as soon as Renee heard Wyatt would be there, she immediately said she could make it. In Alex's eyes, Wyatt was just a roommate who had achieved great success. But in Renee's eyes, Wyatt was a money tree she could latch onto. All the effort she had put into networking for aqueous gems couldn't compare to a single word from Wyatt. For a woman who had dared to come to New York City to make a name for herself, Renee was certainly not without her wits. Just pack a couple of outfits. We'll only be there for 3 or 4 days at most before we come back, Wyatt reminded Khloe as she started packing her suitcase. Right, it's not cold in Miami, is it? The high is around 77, and the low is around 60. A few light jackets should be enough. Just pack my suit and some clothes to change into. Okay. Khloe quickly took the clothes out of the suitcase and put Wyatt's suit inside. Just as Wyatt was about to help, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and answered, "Hello." It was Alex's voice on the other end. "The flight is at 10 tomorrow morning. Should I come pick you up around 7:30? That should be about right. So, I've never been on a plane before. Are there any things I should know? Or like, how can I act like I fly all the time? Oh, Chris got his first class tickets. People in first class have a habit. When you get on the plane and see the flight attendants and staff, you give them a big tip. You should probably prepare a few $1,000s in cash." What? You big goof. Wyatt hung up and went to help pack. The night passed without incident. The next morning, they woke up early. Around 7:40, Alex arrived with Renee as promised, and the 4 of them headed for JFK. The train from New York to Miami took over 10 hours, but the fastest flight was only 2.5. Alex seemed nervous after boarding the plane, his head swiveling around to look at everything. The moment Wyatt got on, he spread out his blanket, put on the noise-canceling headphones provided in first class, and went back to sleep. Alex watched for a while, realizing he was the only one gawking like an idiot, so he quickly followed Wyatt's lead and tried to rest. 2.5 hours later, the plane landed safely at Miami International Airport. Outside the airport, the 4 of them got into the G-Wagon Chris had driven to pick them up. Looking at the bright sunshine outside, Wyatt smiled. Winter here must be pretty comfortable. Chris, driving, chuckled. It's even better in the Keys or the Bahamas. The coldest it gets here is still in the 40s. How are the wedding preparations coming along? Chris sighed. It's just a formality, really. It's a 10-minute walk from my house to hers. Both our families know each other's backgrounds inside and out. If Paige hadn't insisted on a hotel wedding, I would have just done a simple outdoor ceremony. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Women think differently than we do. That's why I just listen to her now. Chris laughed self-deprecatingly, then added, "Oh, right. On the 27th, which is the 12th day of the new year, there's an international animation and game expo at the convention center. A lot of game companies will be there. You want to check it out? An animation and game expo? Yeah, I just heard about it a few days ago. Since we're getting into the gaming sector now, we might find something worthwhile if we go. We'll see." Okay. Chris's family lived in Coral Gables, not far from the University of Miami campus. The head of Microsoft's gaming division had graduated from there. Although it wasn't an Ivy League school, the value of a degree from there was steadily increasing, making it a nationally recognized institution. About half an hour later, the car pulled directly into the driveway of a luxurious villa. The yard was already decorated with festive banners, and a red carpet was laid out on the ground. There were quite a few people at the house, friends and family all around. As soon as Chris got out of the car, a dozen pairs of eyes turned toward the yard. Wyatt got out of the car, holding Khloe's hand, and sized up the villa. He finally had a concrete understanding of Chris's family background. A small, older man in a leather jacket came out of the house. He looked to be in his 60s, but was actually only in his 50s. He had suffered through some tough times in the army when he was younger, which left him with some chronic health issues that made him look older than he was. But his spirit was strong. The man glanced at Wyatt's group and walked over with a smile. "This is my dad." "Hello, sir." "Dad, this is the Wyatt I'm always telling you about. And this is my roommate, Alex." The young man is certainly impressive. Not at all. The old man led them into the house. Alex glanced around the living room, his eyes wide with astonishment. A complete set of mahogany furniture sat on one side of the living room, exuding luxury. The living room had a 4-story high ceiling, making it feel incredibly grand. The background wall was made of several massive slabs of granite, and next to it was a display cabinet filled with various antiques and artifacts. Even Renee couldn't help but think to herself after seeing it all, Alex, oh Alex, what kind of god-tier roommates do you have? There were too many relatives downstairs, and they were all speaking Cantonese. Chris took the 4 of them to the backyard. The backyard was about the same size as the front. There was no pool, but there was a vegetable patch, likely planted by the old man to cultivate his hobbies. In the corner of the patch was a gazebo, which required crossing a small arched bridge to reach. Below the bridge was a man-made stream with some goldfish in it. As they crossed the bridge, the goldfish below swam around quickly. After chatting for a while, Alex suddenly interjected, "Hey, Chris, can you get us something to eat?" Chris stared at him. "You didn't eat on the plane?" The flight was right during mealtime, and first class provided meals. Alex shook his head. "Nope." Then, he suddenly turned to look at Wyatt, Khloe, and Renee. "You all ate?" Wyatt nodded. "We did. Why didn't you wake me up?" "You were sleeping so soundly, I didn't have the heart to wake you." Alex said tragically, "I got up before 7 this morning just to pick you up. All I had at home was 1 hard-boiled egg." Chris tried to hold back his laughter, went to the kitchen, and asked his family to help make a bowl of noodles. When he returned, Alex looked as dejected as a jilted bride. Renee, who occasionally had low blood sugar, always kept a couple of Snickers bars in her purse. She was now using one to console Alex. All right, it's your own fault for falling asleep on the plane. Have a Snickers for now. You'll have something to eat soon." Chris, remembering something, said to Wyatt, "The day before the wedding here, the bride and groom aren't supposed to see each other. They say, see each other before the wedding, won't see each other after. Later, I'll drive you guys to Paige's house. I won't get out of the car. Then tomorrow morning, I'll send 2 cars to the hotel to pick you up. We don't have any tasks tomorrow, do we?" "Nope." I talked to Paige. "We're skipping the gate-crashing games. You guys will just hand me a rose each. There's so many relatives on both sides. If we don't hurry, it'll take all morning." After Alex finished his noodles, the group went to Paige's house for a few hours. After dinner, the 4 of them settled into a nearby hotel. The awkward thing was, even though Renee and Alex had moved in together, they still slept in separate rooms. They had never once slept in the same bed. Alex was the type who had the desire, but not the courage. Sometimes, Renee would even deliberately tease him, changing into a nice outfit and asking him if she looked good. Alex would always say she looked beautiful, and then he'd have to walk around hunched over. Lust is judged by actions, not thoughts. By thoughts, no one in history is innocent. From this perspective, Alex was a true gentleman. But Chris didn't know this, so he had booked 2 rooms with king-size beds. Alex and Renee happily walked into their room, but when they opened the door and turned on the light, they both froze. "This," Renee paused, glancing at Alex's expression, then said deliberately, "Did you already tell your roommates we were living together?" "No, I didn't." Alex quickly defended himself. "When Chris booked the hotel, he only asked Wyatt, not me. I had no idea about this. So what do we do now? How about—" Alex pointed to the sofa. "I sleep on the couch." "Renee, there's only 1 blanket." "Alex, it's just 1 night. I can manage." "Renee, don't. If you don't sleep well tonight and they ask you tomorrow, what will you say? That you chose to sleep on the couch? Do you think they'll believe you?" Alex's face fell. "Then what? We sleep together. We'll just make do for 1 night." Oh, what? You're sleeping with me. Are you the one losing out here?" No. Then what is it?" "I'm not ready." "Ready?" Renee took a step forward, a slight smile playing on her lips. "What exactly do you need to get ready for?" Alex's face turned bright red. A man on his first foray is often no match for a woman. The wedding the next day went smoothly. 2 cars were waiting at the hotel early in the morning. Wyatt and Alex took 1 car to Chris's house, while Khloe and Renee took another to Paige's. After breakfast at Wyatt's end, a grand procession of cars headed for the bride's house. The 2 houses were so close that, to add a sense of ceremony to the occasion, the procession deliberately took a roundabout route. When they arrived, from the moment Chris stepped out of the car, people lined the red carpet, continuously handing him roses. By the time he reached Paige's bedroom, he had a full 99 roses in his hands. From there, they followed the local customs: the proposal, photos, the tea ceremony. Finally, close to noon, the procession made its way to the hotel. The entire banquet hall had been booked. A rough count suggested at least 80 tables. Wyatt and his group were seated at a table next to the main one. Besides the 4 of them, the other 3 people at the table were Paige's college classmates. Miami being a coastal city, the table was naturally laden with seafood, in addition to many other exotic dishes Alex had never even heard of. In any case, this meal definitely cost a fortune. When Alex heard that a bottle of red wine on the table cost over $1,000, he insisted on trying it. But his tolerance for alcohol was pitifully low. He wasn't drunk for long before Renee had to restrain him. Otherwise, the fool might have repeated his embarrassing performance of shouting for a cure outside an adult store. Wyatt had noticed earlier. When the wedding began, Khloe's attention was fixed on Paige on the stage, her eyes filled with a certain degree of envy. Wyatt started to worry. It was already the end of February, and he had promised her they would get their marriage license on May 20th. Before that, he definitely needed to propose. This was something he needed to plan carefully. After the guests gradually dispersed, Chris and Paige still had things to wrap up. Wyatt's group returned to the hotel around 3 o'clock. As soon as they got back, Khloe asked curiously, "Did you hear what Chris called Paige? Didn't he just call her Paige?" "No, I heard him call her baby." "No way. Chris doesn't seem like the type to be that sappy. He said it quietly, but I heard it." "What, are you jealous?" Khloe pouted. "You've never called me that." Wyatt laughed, then sat on the end of the bed and pulled Khloe in front of him. He looked up at her, called out baby, and then immediately asked, satisfied now? Khloe took the opportunity to sit sideways on his lap. "Today's wedding was so lively," she said softly. Paige looked so beautiful in her wedding dress. That dress was custom-made over 2 months. "Of course it looks good," Wyatt quickly added, "but when you tried on that wedding dress with the lady boss at the bridal shop, you looked even more beautiful." "Really? I never lie when I'm in bed." Khloe tugged his ear. "What do you mean, you never lie in bed? Are you lying to me all the other times? I'm finding that you're getting smarter and smarter. Are you trying to say I'm not as easy to fool now?" "I never said that." Khloe let go of his ear and rested her head on his neck. "I had a little bit of red wine earlier, too." "You drank too?" "Yeah." Wyatt frowned. "Why are you drinking?" Khloe said haughtily. "Renee drank too. You're comparing yourself to her? She's in business. She has to drink. You're not allowed to drink anymore." "I'm a little dizzy. Lie down and take a nap. We probably don't have anything else to do this afternoon. You stay with me." "I'm not sleeping. Please." Wyatt couldn't resist those 2 words. A moment later, he drew the curtains, and they were both lying in bed. Khloe snuggled close in his arms. Strangely, though she had been dizzy and sleepy on the way back, she now found she couldn't fall asleep. "Door. HM. Do you want to taste some red wine?" Before Wyatt could even answer, Khloe, under the covers, popped her head out and sealed his lips with hers. A long moment later, Wyatt, mimicking her tone from a previous time, patted her on the back and said, "So annoying. Are you done kissing me yet?" Why did you bite me?" It was Wyatt and Khloe's first time in Miami. Compared to the weather back in New York, it was much more comfortable here. On the 26th, the 2 of them spent the day exploring. Renee and Alex didn't join them. For some reason, they had slept in late. Wyatt had gone to knock on their door close to 10 o'clock, but neither of them was up. In the evening, Wyatt got a call from Chris, inviting them over to his house for dinner. Alex and Renee were already there. After hanging up, Wyatt and Khloe took the Metro Rail. Having had a car for so long, Wyatt hadn't ridden the subway in ages. It was right after the holidays, and the train was packed with people who had come from out of town for work, carrying large bags and suitcases. It was hard to even find a place to stand. "It's so crowded. Stand inside. Hold on to me tight." Khloe wrapped her arms around Wyatt's waist and looked up at him. "When are we going back to New York?" "We'll check out that game expo tomorrow. If there's nothing else, we'll head back in the evening." See, Investments and ARC Interactive are back to work on the 8th. ARC at least has Leo, but doesn't even have a manager. Isn't Sam there? With his personality, he can't manage a company. He's at his limit as the head of the second investment department. It's not right to put him in a higher position. Khloe continued the topic. "Of your 3 roommates, 2 are in the company. Why isn't Alex?" "He missed the boat," Wyatt explained. "In the beginning, he was busy chasing Lily. By the time the company took off, if I brought him in, it would cause gossip. It's better this way, isn't it? He's with Renee, and he seems happy being whipped." Wyatt smiled. He once said in the dorm, "One day, when I find a girlfriend, you guys will be jealous of me." I guess he's achieved his dream now. Are they in love? Wyatt understood what Khloe meant. He nodded. "I think so." In the beginning, the way Renee looked at Alex was completely different from how she looks at him now. Exiting the station, Wyatt took a deep breath. The air felt fresher. Khloe was completely disoriented once they were outside. She looked left and right. "Which way do we go now?" "It's about a 15-minute walk. Let's grab a city bike." There was a whole row of bikes at the station entrance. Khloe saw the crowds and immediately felt nervous. "There are so many people. I don't really dare to ride." "You ride." I'll run alongside you. It'll be good exercise. Oh, Wyatt unlocked a bike for Khloe. Seeing her start off smoothly, he began to run alongside her. Perhaps because Wyatt was with her, Khloe actually rode very steadily. 15 minutes later, they arrived at the Zhang family home. After the wedding, Paige had moved in with Chris. Compared to yesterday, the house felt a bit empty today. Only the old man, Paige's parents, Chris, Renee, and Alex were there. When Wyatt and Khloe arrived, they had barely sat down before they were called to the dining table. Chris must have talked about Wyatt often with his father, because at the table he also said many good things about Wyatt to Paige's parents. But what the old man didn't know was that Paige had also mentioned Wyatt several times at home. She said he was glib, but charismatic, not serious, but a shrewd operator, leaving her parents unsure if their daughter was criticizing him or praising him. However, after learning from Chris's father that Wyatt was already a billionaire, the old couple immediately started singing his praises. It was a good thing Wyatt wasn't the type to get carried away by flattery. That night, Chris drove them back to the hotel, arranging to go to the expo center together the next morning. When Wyatt got back to his room, he took a shower first. As he was washing his clothes, Alex knocked on the door and came in. Hey, Renee and I won't be going tomorrow morning. Aren't you interested in anime and stuff? Chris said there will be a lot of girls in cosplay there tomorrow. You're going to miss such a great opportunity. Nope. Alex said his piece and left. Wyatt shook his head and smiled, thinking that the old saying was right. A woman in her 30s is a wolf, and in her 40s, a tiger. Alex had probably just gotten started and was about to be devoured by Renee. Wyatt chuckled to himself and continued washing his clothes. Khloe found a set of pajamas, took a shower, and came out holding the clothes she had just changed out of with a smile. Wyatt picked them up, sniffed them, and raised an eyebrow. These aren't even dirty. Can't you wear them for another day and we'll wash them when we get home? No. Wyatt was speechless and continued scrubbing the dirty clothes. After drying her hair, Khloe knelt by the suitcase, looking for clothes to wear tomorrow. After a moment, she muttered to herself, I'm sure I packed my face wash. Why can't I find it? Wyatt quickly proclaimed his innocence. I didn't take it, you know. I rarely use that stuff. I know. Khloe retorted, continuing to search. A few seconds later, she mumbled again. Why can't I find my stockings either? The moment she said that, Wyatt quickly washed his hands, dried them on his pants, and immediately went to help her look. When he confirmed they weren't in the suitcase, he said quickly, don't worry. I'll order them on Amazon right now. 10 pairs each of black, white, and gray. They'll be here the day after tomorrow at the latest. Khloe. After work, Sam and Abby left the office together, openly as a couple. Rachel wasn't envious. When she went home for the holidays this year, she had been forced to go on a blind date and had actually hit it off with a civil servant who worked at the County Power Bureau. He was a graduate with a master's degree, had passed the civil service exam right after graduation, and had already bought a house in their small town. He was a good catch by all standards. Rachel was actually quite satisfied with him, but as a woman, she was too shy to say so directly. She just said she had a good impression and was open to getting to know him better. They were still in that awkward, newly acquainted phase, texting nonstop whenever they had a free moment. Even the women in the finance department teased her, saying she had been possessed after just one blind date. Leaving the company, Sam drove the company's van and took Abby to a noodle shop. After they each ordered a bowl of lamb ramen, they found a table. Abby got straight to the point. Over the holiday, I told my family about you. They wanted to bring you home sometime. Huh? This year? Yes. Sam thought for a moment and finally nodded. All right, Abby deliberately huffed. You don't sound very happy about it. No, it's not that. I'm just worried I won't be able to get away. Things at the company are getting busier and busier. What's more important, work or me? Sam was taken aback. He thought for a moment and replied, Isn't work also for us, to have a better life? Abby beamed. Well, look at you, Sam. You're getting better and better with words. Animation and comics had a dedicated following in the U.S., and Alex had once been a devout member. His account on Crunchyroll, or one of those sites, had reached max level by his junior year, and he wasn't above shouting things like, I'm going to be the man who becomes king of the pirates, in a fit of nerdy passion. Most guys Wyatt's age had grown up on an NES, mashing buttons on Contra or Double Dragon. But the games of their childhood were a different species entirely. Back then, no one talked about IP. Now, gaming had spawned entire ecosystems of merchandise, collectible figures, apparel, and cosplay. Wyatt, Chris, and their group had arrived early for the Miami Comic-Con, but the entrance was already a chaotic sea of people. Anywhere else, a person in full cosplay might look out of place, but here, it was the opposite. It was a badge of honor, attracting not scorn, but admiration and camera flashes. How are there so many people? Chris said, looking overwhelmed. I had no idea this thing was so popular. I should have hit up the organizers for a VIP pass. We could have used the express lane. Maybe we should just bail. We're already here, Wyatt said. Waiting in the main line would take an hour, easy. He scanned the area and, without another word, grabbed Khloe's hand and started walking toward the exhibitor and press entrance. Chris saw him and hurried to follow. Noticing Paige hadn't moved, he turned back, confused. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Paige shot him an exasperated look. You're not holding my hand. How am I supposed to go anywhere? Chris sighed internally, but obediently took her hand and followed Wyatt's lead. They're going to ask for credentials here, Chris whispered. We're not getting in. Let's see if my face is credential enough, Wyatt replied. Your face. Sure enough, a staff member at the entrance spotted Wyatt approaching and stiffened, going on alert. As they got closer, the staffer stepped forward. This entrance is for exhibitors and staff only. Wyatt cut him off before he could finish. I'm the owner of Arc Interactive. The owner of Arc Interactive. The name's Wyatt. You can look me up online. I'm in Miami on business and thought I'd drop by. The staffer was clearly a serious gamer. He'd heard of Arc Interactive, of course. He skeptically pulled out his phone and typed Wyatt's name into the search bar. His eyes widened. He shot up from his stool, suddenly looking nervous. I need to check with my supervisor. Make it quick. Right. The staffer hurried off to make a call. A few minutes later, he returned, all smiles. My colleague is on his way. He'll escort you to the main hall. Good. A young woman in a staff polo shirt appeared, politely leading the four of them into the main exhibition hall. Seeing the dense, pulsating crowd, Wyatt turned to the guide. We'll just wander around. You can get back to your work. Of course, mister. Wyatt. Chris sidled up to him, giving him a thumbs up. Damn, mister. Wyatt, you got some serious pull. It was the first time any of them had been to an event like this, and they took in the sights with a sense of wonder. The crowd was mostly college-aged, with a smattering of older nerds brandishing professional-grade cameras, swarming around women in elaborate cosplay. You had to hand it to them. The girls who did cosplay really committed. Their outfits were daring, and their poses were provocative, bordering on outright suggestive. Consequently, the crowds of photographers surrounding them were thick with what could only be described as creepers, their lenses aimed with unsettling precision. Unfortunately, most of the cosplayers were fairly average-looking, their faces caked in a thick layer of foundation. Even with all that makeup, Wyatt privately rated them a generous 8 out of 10 at best. Wyatt's main goal today was to check out the game developer section. Arc Interactive had just closed a massive funding round before the new year and was on a steep upward trajectory. Since he was in town anyway, he figured he might as well see what was out there. So, they didn't linger in the main hall. They headed straight for the gaming exhibition area. It was noticeably quieter here compared to the main hall and the anime section. Each game studio had its own booth, most of them equipped with gaming consoles hooked up to massive screens, playing cinematic cutscenes. The focus was on console games, but the American console market was a different beast from the international one. Truly blockbuster console games from domestic indie studios were rare. The simple truth was that free-to-play online and mobile games were far more lucrative. To put it bluntly, making console games was a thankless, high-effort, low-reward venture, whereas a hit mobile game could make you fabulously wealthy in the States. It was because of this that, to this day, America hadn't produced an indie console game with true global impact. Wyatt walked slowly, stopping occasionally to play a demo or listen to a developer's pitch. Just as they were nearing the end of the exhibition hall, a company's name caught his eye. The booth for a company called Game Science sat alone in a corner. Other studios had at least 3 or 4 people staffing their space, but Game Science had only a man and a woman. They looked like they hadn't had a visitor all day, because when Wyatt walked up, hand in hand with Khloe, the pair looked genuinely surprised. Hi there, Wyatt said. Hello. Wyatt stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the screen. In the top left corner were 4 words, the name of the game they were showcasing, Art of War, Red Tides. Wyatt had no memory of this game whatsoever, but he knew, with absolute certainty, that black myth, Wukong, was made by this very company, Game Science. He had been planning to greenlight a Wukong project himself after the new year, but he never expected to run into the as-yet-unknown studio right here. So, is this the only game your company has right now? He asked. No, we previously co-published a mobile game called 100 Generals with Sony. Any other games? Not at the moment, but Game Science was really only here because the convention was in Miami, close to their office in the city's tech district. Wyatt pressed him. But what? He desperately needed to know if they were already working on Black Myth, Wukong. If they were, Arc Interactive couldn't make it. But we did just start a new project. The staffer looked at Wyatt, his suspicion finally kicking in. It was rare for a visitor to ask these kinds of questions. Most people just want to play the demo. Excuse me, but are you? Wyatt smiled. My name is Wyatt. I'm the owner of Arc Interactive. I heard there was a company in Miami called Game Science with a lot of potential, so I thought I'd come check it out while I was in town. Arc Interactive? You're the owner of Arc Interactive? Our boss has told us about you. The male staffer exclaimed, his demeanor instantly shifting from cautious to excited. Wyatt chuckled and turned to Khloe, murmuring something. She quickly fished Wyatt's business card from her purse and handed it to him. Wyatt took it and offered it to the staffer. Here's my card. I'm flying back to New York tonight. Tell your boss that if he has time this afternoon, I'd like to meet with him. Okay, no problem. Wait, since when have you heard of this company? Chris asked as they walked away. Wyatt, of course, couldn't reveal the truth. He tossed off a casual lie. Heard about it from one of the programmers at work. Chris didn't doubt it for a second. Arc Interactive now had more employees than C. Investments, many of them poached from other game studios. It was perfectly normal for them to know things about other companies. The four of them didn't stay much longer and started heading for the exit. Back at the booth, the male employee was already on the phone with his boss, Frank G. You're telling me the owner of Arc Interactive came to our booth and left you his business card? Yes, the employee said, his voice buzzing with excitement. And Frank, he said he's going back to New York tonight and wants to meet with you this afternoon to chat. Quick, send me a picture of the card. The employee quickly sent a photo of the card to Frank, who jotted down the number and, without a second's hesitation, dialed. Just then, Wyatt and the group had settled into Chris's car. Seeing the unsaved number pop up on a screen, Wyatt guessed it was Game Science. He smiled and answered the call. Hello, Mr. Wyatt, hello. This is Frank G., the owner of Game Science. Hello, let's talk in a bit. I'm about to find a place for lunch right now. Hearing this, Frank immediately replied, Mr. Wyatt, there's a restaurant near my office with pretty good food. If it's convenient, would you do me the honor of joining me for a meal? Wyatt's smile widened, but he deliberately paused for a few seconds before answering. All right, add me on WhatsApp and send me the address. Great. See you in a bit. The line went dead. A moment later, Wyatt received a contact request from Frank, and as soon as he accepted it, a location pin dropped into their chat. Wyatt held the phone out to Chris. We're having lunch here. Chris leaned over to look. Hey, this place is really close to my house. It's like a 15-minute drive. Even better. Chris quickly drove them over. After hanging up, Frank had immediately instructed his assistant to book a table at the nearby restaurant and order their most expensive package. His enthusiasm stemmed from the massive new project his company had just started. It would require a very long development cycle, and during that time, a steady stream of funding was essential. At this point, Game Science was still a small company with little reputation in the industry. In the 3 years since its founding in 2014, it had only released 2 games, neither of which had made much of a splash. Frank knew Wyatt was the owner of Arc Interactive, but he also knew he was the head of C. Investments. To him, Wyatt was both a peer and a potential investor. The reason Wyatt had smiled during the call was because Frank was acting a little too eager. It told him that Game Science's situation was precarious, which would give him the upper hand when they started talking. Hello, Mr. Wyatt. The car had just pulled up to the curb when 2 unassuming men approached and greeted him. As Wyatt shook Frank's hand, he sized him up. Frank still had long hair, giving him a slightly grungy look, and he exuded the unmistakable aura of an engineer. Hello. Frank was a millennial, more than a full decade older than Wyatt, but his handshake was deferential. It couldn't be helped. In the business world, age was irrelevant. Money and power were the only things that mattered. Shall we go inside and talk over the meal? Sounds good. The group entered a private dining room. As soon as they were seated, a server brought drinks. Khloe rinsed a set of utensils with hot water before handing them to Wyatt, taking the unopened set for herself. Wyatt poured himself a glass of soda and made some small talk, explaining that he was just passing through the convention. Then he cut to the chase. How many employees does Game Science have right now? 52. I hear you've been involved in development yourself, Frank. That's right. I worked in a project division at Microsoft for a while before starting my own company. Wyatt nodded with a smile, but didn't reply. Since he'd stumbled upon this, he was determined to cash in on the black myth, Wukong phenomenon. But he didn't want to be the first one to bring up an investment. He knew that if he showed his hand too early, it would put him at a disadvantage from the start of the negotiation. Seeing the conversation grind to a halt, Frank grew anxious. Our company just started a new project this month. It's completely different from any other game on the market in the US. We actually had the idea for it back in 2016, but the team wasn't mature enough, and we didn't have sufficient funding. Frank quickly launched into an explanation of his company's current state, repeatedly emphasizing their lack of funds. Wyatt listened, nodding occasionally, but never interjected. Once the food arrived, he simply started eating. Frank, with his engineering background, finally couldn't take it anymore. He tried to pique Wyatt's interest. "Mr. Wyatt, after we eat, would you be interested in coming to my office? I can have someone give you a more detailed presentation of our new project." Wyatt laughed. "That's not really necessary. You've already told me plenty. It's a major AAA game based on the mythology of Journey to the West, created with a deep respect for the culture." That's an accurate summary, right? Yes, it is. But you must know that AAA games have a limited audience in the domestic indie scene. My own company, Arc Interactive, focuses on the mobile market. And even if that weren't an issue, with your current staffing, this game won't be ready for at least 3 years, maybe even longer. You admit that, don't you? Frank's expression soured. A good game needs a long time to be polished. But I have confidence I can do this game right. My target isn't just the domestic market. I've heard that line many times in my years as an investor. Let's do this. Tell me honestly, how much equity are you willing to give up, and for how much capital? Wyatt's attitude had thoroughly unnerved Frank. He didn't dare ask for an exorbitant amount and named a very reasonable price. 5% for $500,000. Wyatt smiled. If you'd done any research on investments, you'd know I don't even attend board meetings for projects under $1 million. So, let's say $2 million. I want 20% of your company, and I won't interfere with your management or the game's production. Consider the $2 million my contribution to the future of the American AAA market. Chris, sitting beside him, nearly choked on a mouthful of Coke. $2 million? A contribution? Who the hell spends money like that? One was desperate for money. The other was eager to give it away. The two of them quickly reached a verbal agreement right there at the dinner table. After the meal, Wyatt still went with Frank for a tour of his office. The company wasn't large, but the workspace was impressive. When Wyatt saw they already had concept art for the main character of Black Myth, Wukong, he couldn't help but feel a pang of wistfulness. He'd come to Miami for a wedding and ended up stumbling upon a gold mine. From Frank's perspective, at this point in time, he felt like he was the one who had struck it rich. As the owner, he knew perfectly well that without funding, the project would never survive long-term. Wyatt's $2 million were a lifeline. But until the contract was signed, it was all just talk. The moment Wyatt left, Frank began preparing all the necessary documents, planning to send someone to New York the very next day to seal the deal. Ashley had a very eventful new year. In just under half a year, including bonuses, she had managed to save nearly $100,000. She ate the free breakfast at the hotel, had lunch at the YW cafeteria, and was often treated to dinner in the evenings. No matter who was paying, it was never her. Over the holidays, she told her family all about her new job. They were overjoyed to hear she had connections like Wyatt and Michael in New York City. For an art student, landing a job like that was incredibly difficult. With her career sorted, her family started nudging her about dating and marriage. They weren't rushing her, just reminding her to be careful when choosing a partner. Looks were secondary. A good character was what mattered. Ashley didn't dare tell them about her past with Trevor Dane, just vaguely agreeing with them. But on New Year's Eve, Evan Fong suddenly sent her a text. At that moment, Ashley's younger brother was using her phone to play some silly holiday cashback game on Venmo. Seeing the message, he immediately yelled out, "Hey sis, your boyfriend texted you." His shout brought the entire family running out from the kitchen where they'd been busy. Ashley rushed to her brother, snatched the phone out of his hand, and hissed, "Shut your stupid mouth." Seeing Ashley retreat to her room with the phone, the family members, young and old, exchanged knowing glances. Everything was said without a word. Throughout the rest of the holiday, her family tried every trick in the book to get information out of her. At first, Ashley was tight-lipped, but she eventually caved under the constant nagging and told them about her situation with Evan. When Ashley's parents heard that Evan was a computer science graduate from MIT, they were practically beaming. Everyone knew programmers made good money, especially one from a top-tier school like MIT. In their small town, getting into a school like that was a source of immense pride for the whole family. They all urged Ashley to pursue the relationship seriously. She agreed, but if Evan didn't text her first, she rarely initiated a conversation. Until one afternoon, a week later, Ashley and her high school-age brother got into a fight over a bucket of KFC. Sibling squabbles were normal, but this time, her brother held a grudge. While Ashley's phone was charging in the living room, he snuck over, unlocked it, and, pretending to be her, started texting Evan. What followed was a rather interesting chat history. "Ashley, what you up to?" "Evan, just got off work, on the subway now, heading home." "Ashley, send me a pic of yourself." "Evan, huh? Evan, why?" Ashley, my family wants to see. Evan, your family? Ashley, yup. Ashley, I told him about us. Evan, about us? Evan, what do you mean? Ashley, don't you like me? Ashley, answer me. Evan, I do. Evan, but shouldn't we get to know each other for a bit? We've only met twice. Ashley, can't it be love at first sight? Evan, Ashley, I've got it all planned out. We date for 6 months, get engaged in October, and married by the end of the year. Evan, is this really you? Ashley, I've had a few drinks. Evan, Evan, I want to focus on my career before settling down. Ashley, okay. Evan, I'm getting off the subway. Have to grab dinner. When am I sleeping with you? Ashley, sleeping with me? Ashley, you perv. Ashley, you have to take responsibility. Evan / facepalm. Evan, I was asking when you go to sleep. I'll text you later tonight. Ashley, Ashley. Ashley. Evan, what now? Ashley, that was my brother, not me. Ashley, BRB, gotta go commit a murder. Evan, I knew it. A few days later, Ashley returned to New York from her family's home. She was still staying at the Gold River Hotel, just like Leo and Sophie. That evening, Leo treated her and Sophie to dinner. Toward the end of the meal, he got a call from work about a bug in their software. Leo hung up, ready to rush back to the office. Ashley had no choice but to tag along with him and Sophie. As they walked into the ARC Interactive office, Ashley came face-to-face with Evan, who was at the water cooler. They both saw each other and froze. Ashley hadn't replied to Evan since their chat 2 nights ago. She was too embarrassed. Even though she'd given her brother a good beating, the messages had been sent and couldn't be retracted. And even if they could, it was too late. Evan had already seen them. Afterwards, Ashley had reread the chat log several times, her face burning with shame each time. If he weren't her actual brother, she would have disowned him. Leo went straight to ask about the bug, and Sophie, sensing the tension between the other two, quickly followed him. Evan smiled. Why haven't you been answering my messages? Ashley stammered, blurting out, I didn't see them. Evan continued, I think your brother's a pretty great guy. If it weren't for him, we'd probably still just be sending each other good morning and good night texts. So, should we give it a try? Try what? Dating. How do we try? Evan scratched his head. Honestly, I don't know either. But your brother already got the confession out of me. If you say no now, it's going to be pretty awkward for me. Ashley stomped her foot in frustration. Don't bring that up again. Okay. Wyatt's parents, David and Sarah, stayed in Philadelphia for a few days before returning to New York. Chris didn't come back with Wyatt. He said that after the wedding, he and Paige had to attend a post-wedding reception thrown by her parents in Miami. He wouldn't be back until after the Lantern Festival. Upon his return, Wyatt fell back into his routine, working 9 to 5. After the new year, a lot of things required his final approval. Chris was usually in charge of the new office building, but since he was away, Wyatt had to oversee that as well. Things at YW were running smoothly. The company had seen a massive surge in orders before the holidays, mainly because a few of their new red and orange coats had become bestsellers as New Year's outfits. Their Holiday Deals event had been a huge success, so the factory had been running at full tilt until just before the new year and was back up and running a week after. Vivian's due date was in mid-March. The day after Wyatt got back to New York, he took Khloe to visit her. Vivian was at home with a huge baby bump, her face a little fuller. They had already hired a full-time postpartum nurse. Now, whenever Vivian so much as moved, a family member would rush to her side. Her diet was strictly tailored to a pregnancy meal plan, with 2 hours of prenatal education scheduled every day. The experienced nurse would even give her oil massages to prevent stretch marks. On the 14th day of the first lunar month, the day before the Lantern Festival, an announcement was posted in both the C. Investments and ARC Interactive group chats. The announcement was long, summarizing the past year and looking toward the future, but could be boiled down to one sentence. The company's annual party was tomorrow night on the Lantern Festival. Wyatt hadn't forgotten about Deadless Robotics downstairs. He had asked Carter Liu if they wanted to join, but Carter said his company hadn't achieved anything yet, and he and his team would feel too embarrassed to attend. Wyatt didn't push it, simply respecting their wishes. That afternoon, Miranda also returned to New York from Philadelphia. The Lantern Festival wasn't a public holiday, and while Charles could have taken a day off, the distance made it impractical. When Wyatt got home from work, he told them about the company party. His father, David, looked excited. He had long wanted to see the scale of his son's company. Sarah and Miranda, however, asked if it would be appropriate for them to be there. It's my company. What's not appropriate? Khloe chimed in. Exactly. If you don't go, are the 3 of you just going to celebrate the Lantern Festival at home by yourselves? Wyatt chatted downstairs for a bit before heading up. Khloe stayed behind for a while, and after David and Sarah went upstairs, she and her mother had a long, quiet talk, sharing many secrets. The topics were private, but Khloe was no longer the naive young woman she once was. She could discuss these things rationally and calmly without blushing. When Khloe went upstairs at 9:30, Wyatt was on the phone with Michael. It was customary to invite business partners to the annual party, and as Apex Capital was C's earliest partner, Wyatt had to invite him. "What time's the party tomorrow night?" "Starts at 7. You should come over in the afternoon. Bring Isabel, too. My parents are here. I'll introduce you." "Sound good." Just as Michael hung up, Isabel emerged from the bathroom. "Who was that?" she asked curiously. "Wyatt. What did he call for?" "Their company is having its annual party tomorrow night. He invited me," Michael explained as he lay down. Isabel hummed an acknowledgement and slid under the covers. The moment she was settled, Michael rolled over, presenting his back to her. "Turn around." "What for?" "I'm going to sleep." I said, "Turn around." Under duress from Isabel's tyranny, Michael obediently rolled back over. "Hold me." Michael sighed under his breath and wrapped an arm around her. Isabel snuggled into his embrace. When Michael remained unresponsive, she deliberately draped a leg over his and, in a sultry voice, mimicked a cat's meow. "Darling, it's spring. Do you know why female cats meow?" "No." "Because they miss the male cats." As she spoke, her hand drifted downwards. Just as she was about to grab his assets, Michael reacted as if he'd been electrocuted, scooting back half a foot. "Are you crazy? Where am I supposed to find you a male cat at this hour? Go to sleep." "Michael." The next morning, Michael and Leo arrived one after the other, each driving one of Khloe's roommates. When Sarah saw Leo dressed in a suit, she clicked her tongue in amazement. "Leo, you look so different now. No wonder your mom always says you've changed so much since you started dating." Leo scratched his head, embarrassed. "It's not me. It's all thanks to Wyatt." "Oh, listen to this," Wyatt quipped from his side. "Look at you, Leo. You finally learned how to suck up." "Not bad, not bad." Sarah immediately smacked Wyatt's thigh, making him yelp in pain. Good neighbors are better than distant relatives, and that couldn't be truer for their two families. Sarah naturally wouldn't stand for Wyatt teasing Leo like that. Leo didn't mind. He was so used to Wyatt's digs that he was immune. Wyatt then gave Michael a grand introduction to his family, declaring that without Michael, there would be no Wyatt. His words made even Michael feel a little embarrassed. The group chatted at the house all afternoon. At 6:30, Wyatt, Michael, and Leo drove the 3 cars, filled with family and friends, to the Gold River Hotel. Large groups of employees had already arrived at the hotel around 6, finding their seats and chatting in small clusters. After a year of hard work, everyone was in high spirits, ready to relax and enjoy themselves. Investments now had over 100 official employees, and Arc Interactive had more than 120. After the new year, the HR department was flooded with so many resumes they couldn't even sort through them all. The drive took 20 minutes. By the time they took the elevator to the 3rd floor, the time was exactly 6:55 p.m. Not too early, not too late. 3 people were waiting for Wyatt at the entrance: his assistant, Abby Zhang, and the receptionist from the 2 companies, one of whom was also named Abby and the other Tanya. "Mr. Wyatt, Mr. Wyatt, is everyone here?" "Everyone who could make it is here, except for Mr. Tang and a few others." Wyatt nodded and walked toward the banquet hall. Abby Zhang and Rachel Yuan exchanged a look, then in perfect sync, pushed the large double doors all the way open. The previously noisy hall gradually fell silent at the sound of the doors. Then, "Mr. Wyatt, Mr. Wyatt, good evening, Mr. Wyatt." As the first person greeted him, a wave of Mr. Wyatt followed him as he walked down the center aisle. His father, David, stood frozen at the entrance, stunned. It took a gentle nudge from Miranda to Sarah, and then a pinch from Sarah to David, for the 3 of them to nervously follow, making their way to the front. 2 tables at the very front were reserved for Wyatt and his core group. Wyatt seated his parents, Miranda, and Khloe's 4 roommates at one table. He then sat at the adjacent table with Michael, Leo, Sam, Carter Liu, Jessica Evans, Dexter Duan, and Evan Fawn. One table was for family, the other for his key executives. Once everyone was seated, Wyatt gave Abby a subtle nod. She got up, left for a minute, and returned with a microphone. She tapped it twice, testing the sound. Hearing the noise, the room quieted down, knowing Wyatt was about to speak. Wyatt took the microphone and stood up. "Tonight, we're not talking about work. You all have one mission: eat well, drink well, and don't go home sober. I know everyone worked incredibly hard this past year, but the year ahead might be even tougher. The road is long and hard, but today we take the first step anew. This first drink is for all of you. The vast banquet hall held over 30 tables, with a sea of 200 or 300 faces. It was larger than most wedding receptions. Watching Wyatt at the next table, microphone in hand, addressing the crowd of over 200 people, David, Sarah, Miranda, Khloe, and the others were filled with a mix of emotions. Excitement, gratification, pride, joy, envy, a sense of honor. The most emotional were undoubtedly David and Sarah. Before tonight, neither of them had truly understood the scope of Wyatt's success. The moment they walked through those doors, it finally hit them. Their son was an extraordinarily successful man. While Miranda was also emotional, her feelings were more of gratification and pride. Gratification at seeing her future son-in-law's career flourishing, and pride in her own judgment. The young man she had bet on had now reached such heights. She wasn't just proud of Wyatt, she was proud of Khloe and herself. Wyatt kept his speech brief. After he put down the microphone, the annual party officially began amidst a round of applause. As glasses clinked and conversations flowed, the atmosphere grew lively. After a few rounds of drinks, middle managers started coming over to toast Wyatt and the other senior leaders at his table. At Wyatt's table, only Carter Lou could really hold his liquor. After 3 glasses of red wine, the others were either flushed red or dizzy. David glanced at his son, a worried look on his face. "You should tell your son to drink less." Sarah, for once, was more lenient. "An event like this, you can't refuse a toast. It's just how it is. I'm just worried he'll get too drunk." "So what if he gets drunk? He'll sleep it off." Khloe nodded in agreement. "Let him be. I can drive later." "Khloe, you know how to drive now?" Miranda asked. "MHM. That's wonderful." By the end of the party, Wyatt had to be carried out on his father's back, completely unconscious. Back home, David laid Wyatt on the sofa. Miranda went to the kitchen to brew a strong cup of tea, which she then brought to the living room and handed to Khloe. Khloe took the cup and tried several times to get Wyatt to drink, but his jaw was clenched shut. Sarah walked over, gently pried Wyatt's mouth open, and told Khloe to pour the warm tea in. A moment later, Wyatt finally opened his eyes, groaning. The second he moved his head, the world started spinning like an earthquake. "All right, David, carry your son to his room," Sarah said. "Shouldn't he take a shower? How was he going to shower like this?" Khloe added, "It's fine. We can deal with it in the morning." David heaved Wyatt onto his back again. As he climbed the stairs, a flood of old memories washed over him. The heavy weight on his back was a stark reminder that he was getting older and his son was grown, no longer the playful little boy he could easily lift onto his shoulders, shouting, "Giddy up." After placing Wyatt on the bed, David quickly left the room. With Khloe there, he felt it was best not to linger. If they were at their own home, he would have made sure Wyatt was properly cared for before leaving. Khloe gently closed the door. She looked at Wyatt on the bed, then went into the bathroom and filled a basin with warm water. She wrung out a towel and carefully wiped his face. Then, summoning all her strength, she dragged him toward the foot of the bed, pulled off his leather shoes and socks, and placed his large feet into the warm water. It must have felt good, because Wyatt, dead to the world, let out a contented sigh. After washing his feet, Khloe climbed onto the bed, grabbed Wyatt's arms, and pulled him toward the headboard until his head was resting on the pillow. By the time she was done, she was sweating. Khloe emptied the water, took a quick shower herself, and then slipped into bed, wrapping her arms around Wyatt's waist and falling soundly asleep. The night passed peacefully. The next morning, when Khloe opened her eyes again, she was the only one in bed. Hearing the sound of running water from the bathroom, she propped herself up and called out, "Why are you up so early?" Wyatt laughed. "Woke up around 4 and couldn't get back to sleep, so I just got up." "How did things wrap up last night?" "Before we left, we made sure everyone had a designated driver or a rideshare. The sober ones got the drunk ones into their cars. Sophie told me Leo threw up when he got home. Luckily, not in the car. I'm heading to the office alone today. Your mom is leaving tomorrow, so you should stay home and spend some time with them. The next time they visit New York might not be until the end of the year." Wyatt trailed off, then suddenly grinned. "Then again, maybe not. What if? What if what? What if you have a baby? I'd definitely call them back then." Khloe rolled her eyes, not bothering to reply. A moment later, the sound of someone singing off-key pop songs echoed from the bathroom. Wyatt ate a bowl of freshly made wontons at home before driving to the office alone. Khloe lays in bed for a while, not coming downstairs until almost 9. Seeing Sarah and her mother wrapping wontons, Khloe asked playfully, "Why are you making so many wontons this early in the morning?" "Early?" Miranda glanced at her daughter with a teasing look. "It's already 9 o'clock. Sarah smiled and explained, "We're going home tomorrow. We're making some wontons and dumplings to put in the freezer. If you two wake up late, you can just boil some. It'll save you a lot of trouble." "Auntie, you're going back tomorrow too?" "Yes, I have a ton of things to do at home." In truth, Sarah hadn't originally planned on returning to Riverwood so soon. She wasn't working, after all, but that morning, she had signed for a package at the door. It was sent in discreet packaging, so Sarah opened it directly. Inside, she found it was full of black, white, and gray stockings. Sarah was an experienced woman. She thought to herself that if she stayed, she might be in the way. So she made a last-minute decision to go to the station with Miranda tomorrow and head home. Khloe had no idea why, and it wasn't until Wyatt came home that evening that she found out. And so, the three adults on the second floor once again heard a pained cry from the master bedroom on the third. The next morning, the bite marks on Wyatt's arm were still clearly visible. After dropping his parents and Miranda off at Penn Station, Wyatt had just returned to the office when he received an unexpected message on his phone. The sender was Blake Lively. After their collaboration on YW, the two hadn't really spoken. But today she had reached out. "Blake Lively, Mr. Mobile, you busy?" Wyatt thought for a moment before replying. "Wyatt, I am, but for a superstar like you, I'll always make time." "Blake Lively, cut the crap." "Blake Lively, I'm about to go film a show, so I'll get straight to the point." "Blake Lively, Ashley Young, Sarah Shu. What's your connection to them?" Wyatt didn't understand why she was suddenly asking about them, but he replied anyway. "Wyatt, they're my cousin's roommates. They're sophomores at NYU Tisch right now." "Blake Lively, Tisch, you say? That's perfect." "Wyatt, why?" "Blake Lively, ask them for me if they're willing to sign with my talent agency. A couple of friends and I started a media company a few years back, and we're looking to sign some promising new talent. Your game was a huge hit online, and I checked them out. I think both of them have what it takes." "Wyatt, I'll have to ask them. But Ashley, Sarah, and Lily Rue are all roommates. If you're going to sign them, you might as well sign all three. I can call in a favor." "Blake Lively, that works. But I'll say this up front. I'll give them some resources to start, but whether they make it or not is up to them." "Wyatt, I'll get back to you in a couple of days." "Blake Lively, sounds good. I gotta run. Bye, Mr. Mobile." "Wyatt, bye, Ms. Superstar." Wyatt was genuinely surprised. He never thought that having them acting game over would lead to them getting noticed by Blake Lively. Her company, Starlight Media, was already a major player in the industry, and with Blake's own star power, getting film and TV roles would be relatively easy. If the three of them could really get signed, they'd be miles ahead of their classmates at Tisch. But then, another thought occurred to him. If the three of them entered the entertainment industry, wouldn't he be altering the industry's timeline? In his past life, he had never heard of these three actresses. Then again, he thought, what the hell do I care? Besides, he'd already changed things. He'd written that hit song that had gone viral on the internet, and the original artist had still become famous last year, just with a different, even catchier song. Adopting a not my problem attitude, Wyatt immediately sent a message to Mandy. "Call me on video when you get back to your dorm tonight." Mandy was in acting class and didn't reply immediately. Wyatt went back to his work. When he got home that evening, Khloe was the only one in the living room. "I think I'll just come to the office with you tomorrow," Khloe complained. "I'm so bored by myself at home." "You could always go visit next door." Her husband's home. "Carl is still at home." "Yeah. Oh, right. I keep forgetting to ask you. How much did you end up paying Carl for directing that game last year?" Wyatt smiled. "I don't know how much he took personally, but the total budget for him and the crew was $30,000. The crew was less than 10 people, and filming took about a month, all in. That averages out to over $3,000 a month per person, which is a great rate. And since Carl was the main director, he probably took home at least 10, maybe even 20,000 of that." "Why are you suddenly asking?" "She's brought over food like 7 or 8 times since the new year. This afternoon, she brought over some rice cakes. I ate most of them, but I left some in the kitchen for you. So I just wanted to ask. If you paid him well, then I can feel a little less guilty about eating all their food." "Don't worry. When have I ever been cheap?" Wyatt went to the kitchen, brought out the rice cakes, and sat down next to Khloe. Before the project started, he said, munching, "I half joked with Carl that if this game made money, we could pump out a bunch of sequels. The holidays are over, and he's still at home. You don't think he's waiting for me to give him another script, do you?" "What?" Khloe said, surprised. "Then you need to be clear with him. Don't hold up his career. I heard from Holly's mom that he doesn't make much as a director, and Holly goes to a private preschool that costs tens of thousands a year." Wyatt sighed. "Game over. Made its money back in 2 days. I'd love to make more, but writing a script like that fries your brain. I couldn't write a second one, even if I wanted to." "Well, could you introduce him to a more stable directing job?" "Who do you think I am?" Wyatt said, exasperated. No matter how big my company gets, I can't just interfere in a different industry. Of course, if you really push me, I could, but that would make enemies. If I help Carl, I might cause someone else to lose their job, and they could end up hating me for it. It's not worth the trouble for me. Every time Shelly Chun brought over food, she would shower Khloe with praise. The old saying, a full mouth can't speak, held true, and Khloe was a soft touch. She wanted to help as much as she could, as long as it was within Wyatt's means. After all, they were neighbors. Okay, I guess I was being naive. Seeing Khloe's troubled expression, Wyatt found it incredibly cute. He reached out and patted her head. Everything these days is about connections and background. People think my success was a smooth ride, but no one knows how much work I put in behind the scenes. It's the same with investing, and it's the same with movies and TV. You need a mentor to even get in the door, and then it's up to you to succeed. If you don't even have a mentor, you have no shot. Unless... Khloe leaned on Wyatt's shoulder. Unless what? Unless you find an alternative path. A different road. A different road? What kind of road? Wyatt didn't answer. He stopped eating the rice cake, his gaze fixed on a point in the distance, seemingly lost in thought. Seeing no reaction, Khloe nudged his shoulder with her own. What are you thinking about? Wyatt put down his bowl, turned to look at Khloe, then cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. Khloe, you're brilliant, he said, his voice full of excitement. I just thought of another way to make money. Khloe, dazed from the kiss, asked blankly, what way to make money? Wyatt replied with two simple words, short-form drama. Short-form drama? Khloe's elegant brows furrowed. She crossed her long legs and pressed him for details. What's that? Wyatt smiled. A short-form drama is... well, it's a TV series where each episode is only a few minutes to maybe 15 minutes long. Most shows on TV now are bloated and drag on forever. That's why so many people have gotten used to fast-forwarding or watching on double speed. The advantage of short-form is that it streamlines the plot, cuts out all the tedious filler, and grabs the audience's attention much more directly and quickly. Khloe nodded, but another question quickly came to mind. But no matter how streamlined it is, you still need a script, right? We can adapt web novels directly. The mainstream platforms right now are... Wyatt pulled out his phone and did a quick search. Web novel, Royal Road, Wattpad. Wait, what's wrong? Wyatt was puzzled. Why aren't the big free-to-read platforms on here? Is it possible they haven't launched yet at this point in time? He did another search for the specific platforms he had in mind. Sure enough, they really didn't exist yet. One was set to launch in late 2018, the other in late 2019. I asked you a question. What are you thinking about? Wyatt snapped back to the present. Nothing. Just thinking about how to get this operation running. First, I need to call Chris. With that, he dialed Chris's number. Yo, bro, I just got back to New York. Did you time this call perfectly or what? Cut the crap. Forget about office stuff for now. When you get to the office, I need you to do something for me first. What is it? Go file the paperwork to register a new company for me. What? Wyatt started to say more, then stopped himself. You know what? Forget it. We'll talk about it at the office tomorrow morning. He hung up and immediately called Leo. Yo, done with work yet? Not yet. Ask around the office if anyone has front-end development experience. I need a website built. Leo was confused. Didn't we build the Arc Interactive website ages ago? What other website do you need? We'll talk in detail at the office tomorrow. All right. Leo changed the subject. By the way, have you been meddling in Evan and Ashley's business? No, why? Feels like they're moving a little fast lately. Just worry about yourself. I was just asking. The next day, Wyatt was up early. After washing up, he boiled 2 bowls of the dumplings Sarah had made by hand. Once Khloe came downstairs and they had both eaten, they drove to the office together. Leo was already there, but Chris sauntered in right as the workday was starting. You couldn't blame him. He and Paige had just gotten back from Miami the night before and had stayed up late cleaning their apartment. He brought Paige with him to the office, which at least gave Khloe someone to talk to. All right, spill. What's the new money-making scheme you've cooked up? Chris said with a grin as he walked into the conference room. Leo also turned his expectant gaze on Wyatt. Wyatt concocted a plausible origin story. The Game Over project was directed by my neighbor. You both know that. Last night, my wife brought it up, and a light bulb went off in my head. I want to make short-form dramas. Short-form dramas? Exactly. Chris looked surprised. What's a short-form drama? Leo frowned. You mean like Friends or The Office? That's a sitcom. A short-form drama is like a mini-series with a faster pace and a more addictive plot. We're in a fast-paced era. The explosion of TikTok is a perfect example. I want to use web novels as a foundation to build a short-form drama platform. If this works, we could create a whole new industry, a complete production chain. This is completely out of my wheelhouse, Chris said, but you're the boss, so you call the shots. It's not like you can't afford to burn through the cash in the company's account right now. Leo asked, "What do you need me to do?" "Same as I told you yesterday. Find someone to build a website and an app for me first. Let's call it Crimson Reads. Initially, we'll buy the rights from other platforms. Later, if the site takes off, we can adapt our own original content. It shouldn't be too hard. As long as we offer good pay and benefits, writers will come." Chris chimed in, "But we can't move into the new office building yet. You need a place to work. There's still some unused space at YW's office. We can squeeze in there for now. The new building will be ready by June at the latest." "That could work," Leo said. "So I'll get someone to build a basic version of the site, an app based on other novel platforms, and we can modify it later." "Yep. Is the company name also going to be Crimson Reads?" "That doesn't matter. See if it's been trademarked. If it has, just pick something else yourself." Chris nodded. "Got it." The three of them chatted for a while. After returning to his office, Wyatt started mapping out who he needed to hire for the new company, creating a mind map on his computer. Around 4 in the afternoon, he called Joanna Zhou from the HR department into his office. Joanna and Fei Zhan had joined the company at the same time. Now one was a manager and the other a director, but their responsibilities were quite similar. Wyatt got straight to the point. "I'm about to launch a new company and want to transfer you over to be the head of HR and administration. Your salary and benefits will remain the same. What are your thoughts?" Joanna nodded slightly. "I'll follow your arrangements. Just tell me if you're willing or not." "Follow arrangements makes it sound like I'm forcing you." Joanna quickly corrected herself. "I'm willing. There's a company organizational chart I just printed out. I've marked which departments need which roles. I've looked at what competitors are offering, and I'm setting our salaries a bit higher. Try to hire experienced people who can hit the ground running." "Okay, I'll take you to the temporary office for the new company tomorrow afternoon. If any applicants ask, you can tell them the office is just temporary and we'll be moving into our own building in June." "Understood. And can I tell them a new company is a subsidiary of C Investments?" "Of course." "All right, I understand. That's all. Message me if anything comes up." "Will do." Joanna retrieved the chart from the printer and left the office. Wyatt glanced at the time and turned to Khloe on the sofa. "That's about it for today. Let's go home. Paige told me she brought her cat back from Miami. The white one." "Yep. What, you want to get a cat now?" "I never thought about it before. I could barely take care of myself. How could I have time for a pet? But things are different now." Wyatt laughed. "You know what my mom would have said if I'd asked for a cat or dog a few years ago?" "What?" "She would have said, 'We can only have one animal in this house. Either you stay or the cat stays.'" Haha. Wyatt thought getting a cat or a dog would be fine, but he still told Khloe to check with her mother first. As Wyatt expected, Miranda immediately tried to talk her out of it. Her reasoning was sound. 2 adults getting a pet was one thing, but once they had a child, the cat or dog hair could be an issue for the baby. She suggested that if they were really set on it, they could wait until the child was a little older. Wyatt, listening in on the call, couldn't help but laugh smugly. Khloe punched him a few times and demanded, "You knew my mom would say that, didn't you?" "I told you I don't care either way," Wyatt said, feigning innocence. "If you want to get one, get one." In truth, Khloe had already given up halfway through the call. She realized she'd oversimplified things. She thought a cute puppy would be fun to have around, but when she really considered it, if Wyatt was at work and she was home alone, she wouldn't know how to handle it if the dog started making messes or tearing up the house. As they were nearing home, Wyatt's phone rang. It was Mandy. Wyatt had slept early the night before with his phone on silent. Mandy had gone out for a roommate's birthday and had tried video calling him several times, but he never picked up. She had expected a reply this morning, but the day had almost passed without a single word from him. After holding in all day, she finally couldn't resist and called him. The moment he answered, Mandy's frantic voice came through. "You told me to video call you last night, and then you don't even answer. Are you nuts?" Wyatt cut her off. "I'll call you when I get home." Then he hung up. Mandy stomped her foot in frustration. Her 3 roommates exchanged glances, trying to suppress their laughter. The game over. I'm Surrounded by Beauties had sold over 800,000 copies since its launch, and the female leads had all gained some fame. The most popular was Ashley Young. Now, even on campus, she drew a lot of stares. Their classmates were envious. They were only sophomores and already had a credited project to their name, basically giving them a foot in the door of the entertainment industry. After getting home, Wyatt video called them. Seeing Mandy's sour face, he rolled his eyes. "If you keep making that face, don't even think about asking me for money ever again." Her weakness exposed, Mandy instantly forced a smile and waved at Khloe. "Hey, cousin's wife, are Ashley, Sarah, and Lily there?" Yeah, we're here." Hearing Wyatt mention them, Ashley Young, Sarah Shu, and Lily Rue practically teleported to Mandy's side, pulling up chairs. Mandy looked around at being surrounded and sighed dramatically. You guys are way too eager. Let's get to business, Wyatt said. I got a message from Blake Lively yesterday. Her company is looking to sign some promising new talent, and she mentioned the three of you. If you're interested, I'll let her know, and someone from her agency should contact you. Blake Lively for real? Even Sarah, usually the calmest of the group, sounded thrilled. Blake Lively's agency was famous in the entertainment world. Getting signed by them would be a massive boost for their future careers. For real. After her initial excitement, Ashley Young grew a little worried. I've heard that some agency contracts are really predatory, and we don't know anything about that stuff. I'll have my lawyers look over the contract for you. But since she came to me directly, I doubt she'd try to screw you over. I have that much pull at least. Thanks, cousin. Don't be in a rush to say yes. Talk to your families tonight, and if they agree, let me know on WhatsApp tomorrow. You got it. Thanks, cousin. Wyatt smiled and ended the video call. Yes, this is amazing. We're actually going to get signed to an agency. After the call ended, Mandy's three roommates erupted in a frenzy of celebration. But Mandy was unusually calm. Though she'd never been much of a reader, a poignant phrase floated into her mind. The party's for them. I'm just watching from the sidelines. Ever since she and J.C. had made things official, she'd given up on the idea of becoming a star. Even now, she didn't fully understand why she had to choose between J.C. and a career in acting, but she trusted that Wyatt wouldn't lie to her, so she had accepted it. All right, stop shouting, Mandy said, slapping the table with an air of mock authority. You guys are getting signed because of my cousin. That's true, but you should also thank me. Oh, come on, Sarah said, draping an arm around Mandy's shoulder. We know that, of course. Without you, how would we have ever met your cousin? Lily Rouet chimed in from the other side. Exactly. Mandy pouted. You guys are too much. Calling him cousin more than I do. Ashley Young went a step further and planted a kiss on Mandy's cheek. Mandy quickly wiped her face and yelled, Ashley, you hussy? Are you addicted to kissing people or something? What are you so worked up about? Want me to let you kiss me back? Get lost, Sarah laughed. She doesn't want to kiss you. The one she wants to kiss is J.C. Mandy stood up. How do you know his name is J.C.? Well, Sarah said guiltily. I might have accidentally seen it when you two were texting. Sarah. Seeing her reaction, Sarah bolted, shouting as she ran. I'm sorry. Back at the house, after hanging up, Wyatt immediately sensed a change in the atmosphere. Sure enough, he turned to see Khloe glaring at him. Khloe let out a cold laugh. They call you cousin, and you're pretty happy about it, aren't you? I didn't ask them to call me that. Do you have any idea how pervy your smile was just now? That's bullshit. Bullshit, he says. Your eyes were glued to Ashley Yang's legs the whole time, weren't they? That is a complete and baseless accusation. I glanced at them once, but the rest of the time I was looking at Mandy. Fine. Then tell me, what color jacket was Mandy wearing today? Pink. Huh? Off-white. Was it? It was. Bullshit. Your cousin was wearing a dress today. Ashley was wearing a pink sweatshirt, and Sarah was wearing an off-white jacket. You're clearly setting me up. Khloe grabbed a throw pillow and chucked it at Wyatt's head. You're sleeping on the sofa tonight. What? Seeing Khloe get up to leave, Wyatt quickly grabbed her hand, pulled her into his lap, and put on a placating grin. Come on, don't be like that. I was wrong, okay? Here, give me a kiss, just one. Get lost. With his previous experience, the Crimson Reeds project moved forward quickly. Once the paperwork was filed, Joanna began recruiting. Web novels were already a mature industry in the U.S., so there were plenty of experienced professionals available. Building the core team didn't take long. Leo's team also got to work building the website and app. Compared to a gaming platform, a novel platform was less complex. The initial version could be built in a month at most. While these two things were in motion, Wyatt met with Carl Chun to talk about the short-form drama project. Turning web novels into short-form dramas? Exactly, Wyatt said with a nod. I've already registered the company, and I'll have someone start negotiating for the rights in the next couple of days. I want to get this moving by early April. Carl, do you have any suggestions? No one's ever done something like this before, so I'm not sure, but hearing you describe it, it sounds like it could have potential. The filming cycle for one short drama will be 2 weeks at most. In the beginning, I need to focus on volume, and I want to have multiple projects shooting simultaneously. That requires a lot of manpower. I'll handle the actors. If you're willing to work with me, Carl, I need you to manage the production crews. Filming short dramas isn't that complicated, so we don't need large crews. I need at least 5 production teams. Can you find the people? Carl thought for a moment. I've been in this business for years, so I can definitely find the people. But the ones I bring in will probably be like me, without much of a reputation in the industry. That doesn't matter as long as they can do their jobs well. If they ask me about pay, what should I tell them? For a modern, city-based drama, the budget for the crew will be $20,000 to $30,000 per project. For a period or fantasy drama, it'll be $30,000 to $40,000. As for how to divide it, you can set a standard rate for each position beforehand. On average, the pay they take home won't be low. Carl nodded. That's actually very high. Most crew members in this industry are paid a daily rate, averaging only $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Wyatt and Carl talked for a good 2 hours. Wyatt and Khloe even had dinner at their house. After returning home, Wyatt called Mandy again. She didn't answer. She was currently snuggled in bed, deep in a long phone call with Jay. See, Wyatt sent a text. If you don't answer this call, you're done for. Mandy glanced at the message and quickly said to Jay, See, my cousin's calling me. I'll call you right back. See, smiled. Okay. Mandy answered the phone impatiently. What is it now? Send me the phone number of the head of your acting department. Oh, what? If you don't know, ask your professor tomorrow. Got it. I'll send it to you in a bit, Mandy said, annoyed. From now on, when I call you, you'd better answer immediately, Wyatt threatened. Otherwise, you can spend your summer vacation back in Philadelphia. Mandy was just about to soften up and act cute, but Wyatt hung up. Less than 5 minutes later, she sent him the department head's number. Wyatt dialed. It rang for a long time before a woman's voice answered. Hello, Dean Shaw. My name is Wyatt. I'm the chairman of C. Investments. I'm calling to discuss a potential university business partnership. Is now a good time to talk? A partnership? What kind of partnership? Wyatt explained. I have many upcoming projects that will require actors, and I was wondering if you've seen the news online about the game over. I'm surrounded by beauties. Oh, that was your company's project? That's right. My cousin is a student at your school, which is how that came about. You may not know this, but Ashley Young, Sarah Shu, and Lily Rouet are about to sign with Starlight Media. I help facilitate that as well. I believe a formal partnership between our companies would be mutually beneficial. What do you think? This is a decision I can't make alone. Were you free to come to the university? I'll inform the school leadership as well. How about Saturday at 9 in the morning? That works? I'll let you know if anything changes. Great. Goodbye. On Saturday, Wyatt went to NYU Tisch alone. As he had said, the partnership was a win-win. For the university, it meant a higher employment rate and increased prestige. For Wyatt, it meant easy access to a pool of professionally trained actors. Wyatt and the university administrators talked for about half an hour and quickly reached an agreement. As he was leaving the administration building, Wyatt spotted Mandy, Ashley, Sarah, and Lily waiting for him under a tree. He treated them to lunch and dropped them back at the school before driving home alone. Khloe hadn't come with him today. Isabel had shown up at their house early in the morning. That woman, unable to find amusement with Michael, was now wandering around restlessly. Sometimes she'd spend the day at YW. Other times she'd spend an afternoon at Judy's beauty center. On weekends, she would most likely end up at Wyatt's place. When Wyatt walked in, Khloe was sitting on the sofa, while Isabel was sprawled out beside her. Seeing Wyatt return, Isabel immediately drawled. Well, look what the cat dragged in. The big boss is back. Wyatt kicked off his shoes and went to get a glass of water, completely ignoring her. Isabel pressed on. So, where has the big boss been gallivanting? Don't give me that crap. I was working. Why are you cursing at me? Wyatt shot her a look. Do you lie around on other people's couches like that, with your legs all over the place? Aren't you afraid of flashing someone? Isabel quickly tugged her skirt down, then sat up with a sly grin. I'm wearing safety shorts underneath. Khloe rolled her eyes, exasperated. Isabel had always been like this, completely without filter around her friends. And since she'd gotten together with Michael, she'd become even more wild, constantly sending Khloe, Ashley, and Sophie scandalous messages that made them blush. Khloe scooted over, making room for Wyatt on the sofa. How did it go? Great. The university is happy to partner with us. Do you have anything tomorrow? I want to go to the new office building. The interior decorators are starting. I want to check on the progress. As they were talking, Isabel suddenly leaned in close and sniffed Wyatt. He frowned. What are you doing? Isabel grinned mischievously. Why do you smell like perfume? I never wear perfume. Don't move. There's a long hair on your shoulder. Isabel, don't start trouble. Khloe immediately asked, a long hair? Where? Let me see. Just as Wyatt was getting nervous, Isabel burst out laughing. I'm just messing with him. For the next 2 weeks, Wyatt's main focus was the short-form drama project. He personally sat in on over 20 interviews and finally, from a pool of professionals, selected a head editor who was the only one who truly understood his vision. The first task Wyatt gave this editor was to select 20 novels from existing web novel platforms that were suitable for adaptation into short-form dramas. The editor, a graduate of Columbia's creative writing program, must have been eager to prove himself because he produced a list for Wyatt in just 2 days. Many of the titles looked familiar to Wyatt. For example, Back to the 80s as a Stepmom, The Winter Court, The Campus Queen's Bodyguard, The Princess Consort is on Top, Wedding Night, My Vegetative Husband Opened His Eyes, and I Picked Up a Prince and Made Him My Husband. With the list in hand, Wyatt immediately had his business team contact the novel platforms to negotiate for the rights. The platforms, however, didn't understand what short-form drama was and initially quoted high prices. It was only after Wyatt offered to buy a large bundle of rights at once that they relented, selling the rights for an average of $6,000 to $8,000 per book. Wyatt bought the rights to 30 novels in one go. Once the rights were secured, Wyatt had his screenwriters get to work. Fearing they would write bloated, lengthy scripts like they would for a traditional TV series, Wyatt took a novel titled From the Audience to the Stage, stunning the singer on site as a template, and personally wrote a few sample episodes. After that, the screenwriters got busy. Whenever you walked into their office, you could hear the ceaseless clatter of keyboards. In mid-March, the first batch of scripts was ready. After reviewing them, Wyatt had Carl Chun start preparing the production teams. At the same time, he went back to NYU Tisch to select actors for the dramas. Chris found the whole process fascinating and tagged along with Wyatt this time. Also with them were Carl Chun and the head editor from Crimson Reads. Are there any criteria for selecting the actors? Chris asked. As long as they fit the character, the prettier, the better. Chris laughed. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Different people have different ideas of what's beautiful. If you really need a standard, Wyatt said, it's that they have to be inspiring. Inspiring? What do you mean? Wyatt just smiled. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. You're just here for the ride. Anyway, the head editor, sitting in the back, asked, Mr. Wyatt, what's the process for casting later? We'll pick a scene and have them do a screen test. Got it. Because of the partnership, the university had arranged for a rehearsal room for Wyatt and his team. On Monday, Wyatt had Mandy put up a poster around campus to advertise the casting call. News of Ashley and the others getting signed had already spread, and when word got out that the company was coming to cast again, a crowd of students was waiting at the door early. When Wyatt arrived, the hallway was nearly packed. In addition to acting students, many from the dance department had come to try their luck. Mandy walked proudly in front of Wyatt, calling out, "Make way, please." "Excuse me, make way." "Good morning, Mr. Wyatt." "Morning, Mr. Wyatt." Some of the more ambitious students started greeting him right there in the hallway. After finally making it into the rehearsal room, Carl, the editor, and Chris sat down to the side. Wyatt immediately told Mandy, "Go outside and collect the resumes, then have them line up in a circle and wait, just like in a real audition." "You got it." Soon, the room was full. Wyatt followed his plan, first selecting a few suitable candidates for the main roles based on their character descriptions, then having them do a screen test. There were so many people that the casting took the entire day. They only had time for a quick takeout lunch. It wasn't until after 5 in the evening that Wyatt finally stood up, clapped his hands, and smiled. "Thank you all for coming to audition today. The casting results will be sent to your phones tonight. For those who weren't selected, please don't be discouraged. We were choosing based on who was the best fit, not on talent alone. And there will be plenty more opportunities like this in the future. I'll do my best to give everyone a chance to be on screen." "Thank you, Mr. Wyatt." "All right, that's all for today. You can all head home." After things wrapped up, Mandy followed Wyatt attentively, helping him carry his water bottle and bag. Wyatt saw right through her, but didn't say anything. It wasn't until they were almost at the car that he said something to the other 3 men. Seeing them get in the car first, Wyatt turned to Mandy. "All right, spit it out. How much do you want this time?" "Hee, just enough for a plane ticket." Wyatt grabbed Mandy's ear. "Are you crazy? Have you ever seen a girl so eager to marry herself off?" Mandy argued, "Hey, I don't have much going on at school. He's the student body president at Georgetown. He doesn't have time to come see me, so I have to go see him." "Forget it. If you dare go to D.C. without my permission, I'll call you mother. It's already March. Summer break isn't far off. You just keep your head down until then, and I'll make arrangements for you in the summer." Mandy pouted. "Fine." Wyatt took out his phone and Venmo'd her $200. "Here's a little something for your trouble. Get yourself a nice dinner tonight. And if you're bored on the weekend, take the subway to my place." Mandy quickly checked her phone. "What, only 200? You want or not? If not, send it back." I want it, I want it." Wyatt shot her a look and got in the car. When he got home, Khloe had already made dinner. 3 dishes and a soup, all made by following online videos. They looked pretty good, even if the kitchen was a total disaster zone. You made all this? Wyatt asked, surprised. Duh. Who else is here? When Wyatt tried to enter the kitchen, Khloe quickly blocked him. You sit. I'll get you a bowl of rice. Hey, my treatment has been upgraded, huh? Don't flatter yourself. I just figured you had a long day. Just as Khloe brought out the rice, Wyatt's phone, which was on the table, rang again. Whether it was a weekday or a weekend, he got calls all day long. Khloe was used to it. Seeing it was Michael, Wyatt put the call on speaker. Yo, Mr. Zhao, Isabel told me you're working on another new project. Oh yeah, I am. Where do you get all these ideas? Wyatt replied with an obnoxious grin in his voice. I can't help it. I have too much money. It's painful if I don't spend it. Michael pressed. What is it this time? Short-form drama. What the hell is a short-form drama? It's a condensed TV series. Just think of it like that. Wyatt thought for a moment, then said, You know, Michael, I should just quit and come work for you. My uncle's firm has me, but they'd be fine without me. Wyatt thought Michael was joking and played along. Sure, I actually haven't found a head for this project yet. I'm not kidding, man. I'm serious about coming to work for you. I know my uncle would be fine with it. You're doing great at your uncle's company. Why would you come work for me? You don't get it, Michael explained. My uncle's firm was already established when I got there. No matter how well I do, it doesn't really change much. But at your place, it's different. Everything is starting from scratch. If we succeed, the sense of accomplishment would be on a whole other level. A what? Do you think I'm just going to be a freeloader taking up space? All right, come to my office tomorrow. I need to explain what I'm actually doing. If you're interested, I'll let you run this new project. Deal. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll bring Isabel with me. Okay. Isabel was sitting beside Michael when Wyatt called. As soon as Michael hung up, she asked, Are you really going to work for Wyatt? Is there a problem with that? Aren't you doing great in the investment division at Apex? Isabel asked, confused. Michael sighed. How do I put this? When I was a department head at Apex Capital, Wyatt had maybe a dozen people working for him. Back then, see, investments was just a shoestring operation. Now, I'm still a department head, but his net worth is catching up to my uncle's. You might not get that feeling of being left behind, and I can't really explain it. So I want to go to his company and see just how the hell that kid operates. Maybe I can learn something from him. Will your uncle let you go? Definitely, Michael said with a self-deprecating smile. If he wasn't trying to save my pride, my uncle probably would have suggested it himself ages ago. With that, Michael picked up his phone and called his uncle, Robert Zhao. Hello, Uncle, Wyatt's starting another new project. I was thinking of going over there to work for a while. Robert was quiet for a moment, then chuckled. You two worked it out? More or less. You know our relationship. You should have gone a long time ago. Apex Capital has been around for years. A lot of things are set in stone. His company is full of young people, and their style is completely different. As long as you can swallow your pride, you'll learn a lot over there. That's what I was thinking. What pride do I have left to swallow? It's good that you can think that way. After hanging up, Michael laughed wryly. See, didn't I tell you? Isabel wrapped her arms around him, comforting him with a smile. What's the big deal? How many people can actually compete with Wyatt when it comes to business? There was a time when I kept thinking if Leo and I switch places, I might not even be doing as well as he is now. All right, stop overthinking it. I heard Vivian is already at the hospital, getting ready to deliver. When a baby comes, shouldn't we go visit? Of course we have to. Isabel had successfully changed the subject. That evening, the first round of casting results for the short-form dramas came in. Wyatt had Carl Chun create several new GroupMe chats, sorting the actors for the different shows into separate groups. As soon as the props and set design teams had everything arranged, they could start filming at a moment's notice. The next morning, Michael really did drive over to see investments. The moment they met, Isabel was the first to tell Wyatt that Michael had already quit his job. The unspoken message was clear. Michael has burned his bridges. You have to let him stay, no matter what. Wyatt wasn't an idiot. He understood exactly what she meant. He took Michael into his office and started outlining the new project. Michael caught on instantly. After just a few minutes, his eyes widened. Holy crap. If this works, it could create a brand new industry. Riding the coattails of social media video traffic, this could easily become a $100 billion market. Dude, how did you even think of this? Wyatt pointed at Khloe. My better half gave me the inspiration. Khloe rolled her eyes at him, but didn't argue. It was true. The idea for short-form dramas had only sparked after their chat that evening. Right now, Wyatt said, I've already secured a partnership with the university's drama department, so we don't have to worry about actors. My neighbor, Carl, has been a director for years, and he's handling the production crews. Once this project launches, the copycats will come pouring in. So my plan is to go in heavy with the funding up front and try to capture as much of the market as we can within a year. A light bulb went off in Michael's head. Apex Capital invested in a film studio real estate project over in the Songjiang district of NYC. We could shoot all the modern, urban-centric shows there. Plus, there are tons of day-rate extras in that area. That would save a lot of trouble. Michael nodded, then quickly added, but we have to get the novel platform up and running. Otherwise, if sites like Webnovel or Royal Road get into the short-form drama market, they could have us over a barrel. Wyatt smiled faintly. I've already thought of that. The website goes live at the beginning of next month. Right now, the monthly bonus for authors who consistently publish is $600. When our site launches, I'm bumping that up to $1,500. We'll run that with other promotions and have our editors start poaching talent. I don't think we'll be short on writers. Plus, current novel sites are all pay to read. I'm making ours free. That way, we won't be short on readers either. Just to be safe, we should buy up a large batch of novel copyrights in the beginning. Good point. From the moment you had this idea until now, how much time has passed? About 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Michael was stunned. You didn't do any preliminary research? No market analysis? Wyatt laughed. What's the point of that crap? It's useless. Michael was speechless. Big corporations had a whole process. First research, then market analysis and surveys, followed by internal meetings to finalize a plan. A project couldn't even get off the ground in 2 or 3 months. He finally understood why Wyatt was so damn efficient. This afternoon, we'll all go over there and have a kickoff meeting. Sound good? Isabel, completely uninterested in their conversation, was lounging on the office sofa, complaining to Khloe about how her skin was breaking out lately, even though she hadn't eaten anything greasy. Khloe asked if she had changed her face wash or any other cosmetics. Isabel was startled. You don't think I bought a counterfeit product, do you? Khloe smiled. Some skincare products have other additives that can cause allergic reactions. I don't know much about it, but that's what my mom told me. I'm going to Judy's salon tomorrow to get my skin tested. Want to come with? Khloe asked, shouldn't Judy be out of the salon right now? Isn't the lady boss about to give birth? Yeah, any day now, Isabel said in a low voice. Does the whole childbirth thing scare you? It's all right, I guess. What do you mean, all right? Haven't you heard people say that for a woman, giving birth is like walking through the valley of the shadow of death? That was in the old days. Medical technology is so much better now. It's very rare for something to go wrong during childbirth anymore. You're so brave. I'm honestly a little scared. When I have a baby, you all have to be there with me. Isabel quickly changed the subject again. Oh, by the way, I saw this post online yesterday where a woman said she got a hysterectomy and now she doesn't get her period anymore and feels great every day. I don't know if it's true, but I feel like no one in their right mind would do that. Just as Khloe was about to speak, Wyatt sneered from across the room. A doctor won't remove a healthy uterus. She probably just had too many abortions and can't have kids anymore. You two should spend less time online reading that fake ghost story crap. The internet is full of all kinds of monsters. Michael stifled a laugh and, turning to Isabel, mimicked Wyatt's tone. You hear that? Stop reading that crazy crap online. Hey, we're just gossiping. Why are you two ganging up on us? The afternoon kickoff meeting lasted an hour and a half. Wyatt started by restructuring some positions in the new company, appointing Michael as the general manager. Then, he laid out tasks for each department, after which the department heads presented the problems they were currently facing. Wyatt listened, offered solutions, and finally laid out the annual plan and goals. The entire meeting was precise and efficient. If this were Apex Capital, it would have taken at least 3 meetings to cover the same ground. With Michael officially on board at the newly christened Crimson Media, Wyatt treated everyone to a rare dinner out that evening, inviting all their close friends. During the meal, Khloe suddenly got excited and showed her phone to Wyatt. Judy just posted on Instagram. The lady boss had a baby boy, 6 pounds, 6 ounces. Wyatt glanced at the post and smiled. Looks like we'll have to make a trip to the hospital before work tomorrow. Michael grinned. Mr. and Mrs. You must be ecstatic. They've been waiting for this day for a long time. Come on, let's have a drink. Cheers. Ever since they had all started working, gatherings like this had become rare. They used to see each other almost every weekend, but now it was a miracle if they could get together once a month. After a satisfying meal, the group went their separate ways. The conversations continued on the drives home. So, what did you guys talk about in that long meeting this afternoon? Isabel asked. Just work stuff, Michael replied. And what's your position now? General manager of Crimson Media. Wyatt's a pretty good friend, Isabel mused. Even Leo had to start as an operations director. Michael explained, it's different. Leo didn't have any prior work experience. It wouldn't have been right to put him in a GM position right away. He needed a stepping stone. I'm different. I've been at Apex Capital for years, so I have the resume and the experience. No one would object to me being placed directly in the GM role. He really does think of everything. That's just Wyatt, Michael said. Anything you can think of, he's already thought of it. Anything you can't think of, he's thought of that too. I have a feeling Crimson Media has just as much potential as Arc Interactive. Maybe I should just ask Wyatt to find a job for me, too. Don't. After our wedding, let's have a kid. You won't have to worry about a thing. My mom will take care of everything. Then you can do whatever you want. How many kids are we having? We need to decide this beforehand. 2. A lot of people are only having one these days. My mom already told me, if you have one, she'll put $50,000 in a trust fund for them. For real? Of course. Well, we'll see when the time comes. It'd be great if we had twins right off the bat. I'd be happy with just one daughter. Do all you guys want a daughter? Duh. A daughter is a daddy's little girl. Haven't you heard? Isabel blinked and called out in a syrupy voice, Daddy. Michael's leg nearly gave out. He quickly slowed the car down and replied, Don't mess around. I'm not in the mood tonight. Isabel pouted and shot back, right? 365 days a year, and you're not in the mood for 300 of them. And 65 days isn't enough for you? What do you think I am, a machine? In another car, Sophie was smiling. Ashley, why didn't you invite Evan over tonight? Leo, hearing this, quickly chimed in. Yeah, why didn't you invite Evan? Ashley shot them both a glare. Don't you two pour salt in the wound. We just started dating. We're not at that stage yet. Listen to you. Leo chuckled. Evan used to work from 10 to 8, unless there was overtime. Now that the company doesn't have a new project in development, he works from 2 in the afternoon until 11 at night. Why so late? Isn't it just so he can wait for you? It is not. TSK, Sophie said, shaking her head. Someone's in denial. Sophie. That tickles. Stop it. In their car, Khloe took the initiative. What should we bring to the hospital tomorrow? Just a bouquet of flowers is fine, Wyatt replied. It's not like they need anything else. They work so fast. You were the one who introduced them, and now they already have a kid. What, you jealous? It just feels like time is flying by. TikTok has this new filter that shows you what you'll look like when you're old. I recorded a video in the office today. Open my photo gallery and take a look. Khloe quickly took Wyatt's phone, expertly typed in the password, and opened his photo gallery. She clicked on the first video. On the screen, a selfie of Wyatt appeared. As the age counter at the bottom ticked up, his face began to change. First, a few lines of world weariness appeared. Then his hair slowly turned white, and finally, his face was covered in wrinkles and age spots. When the counter hit 80, the Wyatt on the screen was a white-haired old man. Wyatt glanced over at Khloe and saw her expression grow more and more somber. He quickly joked, So, I'm still handsome as an old man, right? You're ugly, Khloe shouted back. She deleted the video and said resentfully, Don't record videos like that again. Why not? It makes me sad to watch. Everyone gets old. Why look like that? You'll be a little old lady, too. Ha, you're still laughing. Khloe slapped his arm, a growing unease settling in her heart. Wyatt deftly changed the subject. Let's go back to Riverwood for Memorial Day weekend this year. Go back then. Yeah, we'll stay for a while this time. See, Investments has Chris, Arc Interactive has Leo, and Crimson Media will have Michael. I can finally be a hands-off boss and see how the company's run without me. Khloe remembered something. Don't you have to prepare your graduation thesis? What time do I have for that? My advisor said she'd help me with it. She even asked me last time if I want to go to grad school, said she could give me a guaranteed spot in the master's program. To be blunt, I'm the university's golden goose right now. They'll pull strings for me in every department. Oh, listen to Mr. Big Shot. Wyatt just smiled, not saying anything more. He was secretly planning how he would propose in May. An idea was already taking shape in his mind. He glanced at Khloe, with no intention of letting her in on the plan just yet. Just as Wyatt had predicted, Vivian wanted for nothing at the hospital after giving birth. Her parents had rushed over from Riverwood, and even her brother, Peter, had come along. When Wyatt and Khloe arrived, the room was packed with people, all of them focused on the swaddled baby. The happiest, of course, were Richard and Julia Yu. Victor, the new uncle, was also hovering nearby, but he straightened up and smiled when he saw Wyatt. You're here. Victor, congratulations. Let's just say it wasn't an easy road. Khloe placed the flowers by the bed and started chatting with Vivian. Wyatt caught up with Victor for a few minutes. They only stayed for about 15 minutes. The room was just too crowded. Soon, Wyatt led Khloe out and they headed to the office. While Wyatt was busy with company matters, far away in Riverwood, his father was slacking off in his own office. After so many years in a low-level government position, David had become an old pro at coasting. Today was like any other. He arrived early, his first order of business being to brew a cup of tea. Then he settled into his chair, leisurely scrolling through his fishing buddies GroupMe and sipping his tea. When his colleagues started trickling in, he toned it down, but only by switching from his phone to his computer. Just when everyone thought it would be another quiet day, several Volkswagen Passats pulled into the government building's courtyard, and the entire office building suddenly buzzed with activity. The bureau chief was the first to rush downstairs. Seeing the county executive getting out of the car, his heart leaped into his throat as he hurried forward, a fawning smile on his face. The executive didn't get straight to the point, instead making a few jokes. When the chief started probing for the purpose of his visit, the executive finally asked, "Do you know all the employees in your department?" "Except for any new hires today, I know them all by name." "Then do you have an employee named David Sue?" "Old David? He's practically a fixture here," the chief said, frowning. "Sir, why are you asking about him?" The executive smiled faintly. "The city is about to launch a new round of investment initiatives. I've learned that your employee, David Sue, has a son named Wyatt. He's the founder and chairman of C Investments and is now worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You didn't know this? What? How is that possible?" David was a low-key guy. He never talked about Wyatt's business at work. If someone asked, he'd at most say he's running a small business. Most of the time, no one asked. Wyatt was, after all, just a college student who hadn't even graduated yet. "Lead the way. I need to talk to him." "Right." Though it seemed unbelievable, the chief led the entourage to David's office. When he pushed open the door, the few employees inside, who were all surfing the web, froze. They clearly hadn't expected the bureau chief himself to show up, let alone with the county executive. Fortunately, David had seen a thing or two. He quickly closed his game of solitaire, opened a work-related Word document, and pretended to be busy. "David Sue, Chief, what brings you here?" David's face was a mask of surprise. The acting skills clearly ran in the family. "Sir, this is David." The executive walked forward with a broad smile and extended his hand. "David, do you have a minute to chat?" Seeing the chief frantically giving him a look, David quickly nodded. "Yes." David followed them to the conference room. What they talked about inside, no one else knew, but when he came out, he looked positively proud. Back in his office, his colleagues crowded around, asking questions. David brushed them off with a few vague words and, as soon as the workday ended, immediately called Wyatt. "Hello. Son, you busy? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't beat around the bush." "Okay, but promise you won't get mad at me after I tell you." "Just say it. It's just. Today at work, my chief brought the county executive over to see me. They were asking all about you, saying the city is starting a new round of investment initiatives, and I gave him your number." Wyatt paused, then replied, surprisingly calm, "Okay, I got it. Anything else?" "That's it." Wyatt knew this was inevitable. Even if they hadn't gone through his dad, they could have found his number through other channels. By approaching his dad first, they were already showing him respect. "Son, what are you thinking? If you're not interested, it's okay to just refuse. The worst that can happen is I quit my job." Wyatt laughed. "It's fine. I'll talk to them directly. Don't you worry about it." "Okay." The relationship between father and son had quietly shifted. A few years ago, it was always Wyatt seeking David's opinion. Now it was David seeking Wyatt's. Unconsciously, Wyatt had become the pillar of the family. After hanging up, Wyatt gave the matter some serious thought. He felt it was a necessary expense. As long as he established a connection with them, it would make doing business much easier in the future. In fact, his consideration of setting up Mandy with J.C. was partly for this reason. But how to spend this money needed careful consideration. Even if it was just to build relationships, the money had to be spent usefully with a clear purpose. After a few minutes, he had an idea. Michael had connections to a film studio. Yes, but for filming period dramas, they still had to go out of town, usually to one of the major production facilities in California or Georgia. The cost of shooting in those places was high, with rental fees being a significant expense. And the short-form dramas didn't need such high-end locations. He could build a film studio in Riverwood himself, a mini Hollywood. Besides collecting rent, it could also drive local tourism. It was a perfect long-term, stable project. Sure enough, that evening, Wyatt received a call from an official in Riverwood. Wyatt was outwardly enthusiastic, but when the topic turned to the investment initiative, he immediately changed his tune, saying he had several projects on his plate and no time right now. He did this to create the impression, "I didn't want to invest, but since you all insisted, I'm reluctantly putting up the money." It was like lending someone money. If you lend it right away, they might think you don't need it. But if you first express your own difficulties before lending the money, you can maximize the favor. However, This official had clearly dealt with many business owners. He quickly said, "Our city's investment team happens to be going to New York next week. I wonder if Mr. So would have time to meet and chat." There was no reason to refuse that, so Wyatt gracefully agreed. After becoming the general manager of Crimson Media, Michael moved the launch date for the novel platform and app up by another week. He and Wyatt were in complete agreement. Time was money. Every minute they could get the site online earlier was another minute they could seize the market advantage. Wyatt saw that Michael was managing the company with skill and order, so he gave him full authority and didn't interfere. While the company was working overtime, the short-form drama crews, led by Carl Chun, were also hard at work filming. After an initial period of adjustment, the crews found their rhythm, and the pace of filming picked up speed. A week later, Wyatt met with the investment delegation from Riverwood at Sea. Investments. The group was led by a deputy mayor of Riverwood, accompanied by a dozen people from the investment bureau. After Wyatt led them to the conference room, the deputy mayor quickly stated his purpose. Though Wyatt had never worked in government, he spoke the bureaucratic language fluently, making the deputy mayor wonder inwardly, where the hell did this kid learn to talk like this? "Riverwood is my hometown," Wyatt began. "If my hometown wants to develop, I am, of course, duty-bound to help. But as you can all see, my company's 100-plus employees are still crammed into this small office. My company's valuation is high. That's true, but if the money isn't in the bank, it's all just on paper. However, since you've all come such a long way, I certainly won't let you leave empty-handed. How about this? I'll invest $50 million to build a small-scale film studio near Lushan Mountain. On one hand, it can be used for film crews, and on the other, it could develop tourism." The deputy mayor's eyes lit up. The people around him exchanged glances, all of them seemingly shocked that Wyatt, who had been pleading poverty just a moment ago, was now talking about investing $50 million. Seeing their expressions, Wyatt immediately regretted it. Damn it, I should have said $20 million. What kind of film studio? Like the ones in Hollywood. $50 million wouldn't be enough for a Hollywood-scale studio, would it? Wyatt looked ashamed. Of course not. After all, funds are limited. The leader thought for a moment and then asked, "If we were to support you and use a public-private partnership model to make this happen, could you raise the investment amount?" "If it's a public-private partnership, who takes the lead?" "You, of course. But we would need to establish a supervisory department." Wyatt remained silent for a long time, his brow furrowed as if making a difficult decision. The official across from him watched him intently. If they could build a large-scale film studio, one that could drive local tourism like the ones in Hollywood, it would be a tangible achievement for their current administration. Seeing Wyatt still hadn't spoken, he added, "If we do this, I will do my best to plan a location for you with convenient transportation. You won't have to pay for the land. And if you can guarantee that this film studio will be built within 2 years, I can have all the necessary permits expedited to ensure you won't be delayed by red tape." This was exactly what Wyatt had been waiting for. He finally spoke up. $100 million, max. Any more than that, and I really can't afford it." Hearing this number, the deputy mayor immediately slammed his hand on the table. "Done. $100 million it is." Wyatt spent the entire afternoon with them, hammering out the specific details of the cooperation, including many very fine clauses. In the evening, as he saw them off, Wyatt let out a long sigh of relief. Riverwood would hold an investment conference after Memorial Day, and he would attend as an investor. As they were going down in the elevator, Wyatt asked a strange question. "Is the area around South Lake and Riverwood a no-fireworks zone?" An investment bureau staffer quickly replied, "It's not a no-fireworks zone, but for non-holiday periods, you need a permit to set off fireworks there." "Which department do I need to go to for a permit?" "The fire marshal's office." Another staffer asked, "Mr. Sue, why do you ask?" Wyatt smiled. "Oh, I'm planning to propose there on that day." As soon as he said this, all the veterans in the group laughed. An investment bureau leader chuckled. "The fire marshal and I are old friends. When the time comes, just give me a call. It's no big deal." "Thank you so much. It's a win-win partnership." Yes, win-win." The green month of March passed by without notice. The Crimson Media novel site went live a week ahead of schedule, and upon launch, immediately announced its author benefits. On top of the $1,500 monthly bonus Wyatt had proposed, they added a genre-wide benefit. For the first 3 months, any author whose income exceeded $1,000 would receive an 80/20 royalty split. Given that most other sites currently used a 50/50 split, Crimson Media's immediate move to an 80/20 split caused a sensation in the author community. Almost every author group was sharing Crimson Media's benefits announcement, and on the Go-To forum for web novel authors, there were massive discussion threads. Many authors expressed their desire to give it a try, while a small portion remained skeptical of the free-to-read model and decided to wait and see. But with discussion came buzz. In just 1 week, the number of registered authors on Crimson Media exceeded 50,000, with over 11,000 novels in progress. When Wyatt heard this news on the morning of Monday, April 2nd, he came to the office early. "Michael, this month is crucial for us." "I know. Let me give you a suggestion." "Go ahead." "We can select a batch of high-quality novels and give them a bit more traffic. I want to see 10 authors with a monthly income of over $10,000 in the first month. When we pay out the royalties, announcing that news will definitely attract a huge new wave of writers." "Great idea," Michael said, then added, "but the awkward thing is we're a free-to-read model, so author income comes from ads. Since we're a new company, not many businesses are willing to partner with us yet. The ads on the novel pages are mostly from game companies. I'll talk to someone at Microsoft. Can you get in touch with them?" "Duh. We just did that huge deal with them over the new year. Asking for a small favor shouldn't be a problem." "That would be for the best." "Oh, and the first batch of short-form dramas are done filming. 2 have been edited. I watched them. The plots are trashy, but they're incredibly addictive. I talked to Carl, and we decided to expand the production teams." "You handle it." Wyatt then grinned. "Isabel called me last week. She said you're at the office working overtime every day. She asked if the company is really that busy, or if you were intentionally avoiding her." Michael immediately asked, "What did you say?" "I said you were busy, of course." "My man." Wyatt was baffled. "Seriously, why are you so scared of her? Is she abusing you at home, or something?" Michael let out a long sigh, took out his phone, and showed Wyatt his chat history with Isabel. "Isabel, Mickey Moo, when are you coming home?" "Isabel, I bought you some fitness equipment." "Michael, what time do I have to work out?" "Michael, why waste money on that?" "Isabel, it wasn't expensive. A box of 18, only $10. "Michael, I have to work late tonight." "Michael, you don't have to wait up for me. Sleep early. Good night." After reading the chat log, Wyatt laughed so hard he was practically in tears. Michael sighed in resignation, snatched his phone back, and made sure to add, "Don't go blabbing about this. I don't want people thinking I'm underperforming." Wyatt patted Michael's shoulder and said with great gravity, "You've got this." Michael saw Wyatt's mischievous grin and the way his eyes darted downward. He jabbed him with his elbow. "Got this, my ass. Get out of here." Wyatt waved his hand and actually left the office. When he got home that evening, the living room was empty. Just as he was about to call out, Holly Chen's voice came from the kitchen. "Auntie Khloe, someone's here." "That must be your Uncle Wyatt home from work." Holly's private elementary school was very different from public school. Public school was focused on academics, with at least 7 classes a day, even for first graders. But at Holly's school, the afternoons were mostly for extracurriculars, especially sports, so she was usually done by 3:30. The little girl had gotten used to coming over. She would often sneak over to their house when her mom, Shelley, wasn't looking. At first, Shelley would come looking for her, but after a while, she'd just send a text to Khloe to check if she was there. Right now, Shelley was teaching Khloe how to make egg tarts, with Holly hanging around trying to help. When Holly heard Khloe say Wyatt was home, she darted out of the kitchen. It was strange. Khloe was always so nice to her, while Wyatt was always pinching her cheeks or tugging on her pigtails. Yet, for some reason, the little girl preferred Wyatt. Uncle Wyatt, upon seeing him, the little girl came running, her 2 pigtails bouncing in the air. Wyatt squatted down, scooped her up, and asked with a smile, "How come you're at my house again?" The little girl pointed to the kitchen. "My mommy's here too, is she?" Wyatt carried her into the kitchen. The scent in the air was intoxicating. "What's that smell?" "It's amazing. Egg tarts. They're almost done baking." "Ooh, something new to eat tonight." Shelley shot her daughter a look. "Get down. You're 7 years old. Don't you think you're too old to be carried? Aren't you embarrassed?" Ja. The little girl stuck out her tongue, pulling down her lower eyelid. She was utterly adorable. Wyatt casually asked, "What time has Carl been getting home lately?" "Around 9 or 10. "You can't blame me for that," Wyatt said. "The film studio is far away. It's an hour's drive just to get there. And the company is rushing to finish projects, so the schedule is tight." "Of course not," Shelley smiled. "He gets home late, but he's in much better spirits than before. The pressure used to be immense. It was just him supporting me and this little one." Wyatt smiled back. "That's good. I can't promise much else, but as long as Carl is willing to work, he'll always have a place at the company. He's helped me out a lot." Just as Shelley was about to reply, the oven dinged. Seeing Khloe about to grab oven mitts to take out the baked tarts, Wyatt quickly put Holly down, rushed forward, and pulled the large tray of steaming tarts out of the oven. "Shelley, look. They came out perfectly this time. See? It's pretty simple." Now that the tarts were done, Shelley, who had only come over to offer guidance, soon left with Holly in tow. Wyatt tried one, smacking his lips. Not bad. You've mastered a new skill. This is nothing. I told Shelley I'm going to learn something new every day. I'll know how to do everything soon. Come here. I need to reward you with a kiss. Khloe rolled her eyes at him. Get lost. 10 o'clock at night. After a long, busy day, Leo finally left work. Seeing many people still working overtime in the tech department, he walked to the front desk and whispered to the receptionist, Tanya, order everyone a coffee. Send me the bill later, and I'll Venmo you. Okay, Mr. Cheen. Also, we should be moving into our own office building in June. Give everyone a heads up so they can prepare. The new office isn't far, but there's still some distance. Some people might need to find a new place to live. The company will offer a rent subsidy. I'm not sure how much yet. I need to discuss it with Mr. Sue. Understood. I'm heading out. Let me know if anything comes up. My phone won't be on silent tonight. Okay, Mr. Cheen. Have a good night. After leaving the building, Leo drove to YW. He waited downstairs for 20 minutes before Sophie and Ashley came down. Why are you two so late today? We had a short meeting after the live stream. Want to grab a late-night snack on the way? Ashley looked at Sophie with puppy dog eyes. I want spicy ramen. Sophie sighed. All right, let's get spicy ramen. Yay. The three of them went to a ramen shop. At this hour, the place was nearly empty. They found a table, and their food arrived just a few minutes after they ordered. Leo had already eaten takeout at the office earlier, so he wasn't very hungry. He picked up a meatball and placed it in Sophie's bowl. The money from the stock sale should come through by the end of April. Let's go house hunting in May. It's not good to keep living in a hotel so soon. The company is buying back the shares, so the process is quick. What kind of place should we get? I'm asking you. I can live anywhere, as long as it's with you. Ashley groaned. Hey. You two are starting to sound like Wyatt and Khloe. I'm still here, you know. Sophie ignored her and continued. I think something around 1,000 square feet is enough. We don't need to buy anything too fancy. After all, real estate in New York is so expensive. The location has to be close to the office. We can look at a few different complexes and compare. Leo smiled. Your parents live nearby. Should we ask them for their opinion? Why will we ask them? It's our house. We're the ones who will be living there, not them. Ashley interjected again. Leo is trying to show your parents that he can provide a good life for you. Are you really that clueless? Or are you just pretending? You talk too much. Ashley sighed. So what am I supposed to do? You guys are all living together. Am I supposed to live in a hotel by myself? Go find Evan, Sophie said with a wicked grin. Or bring Evan to the hotel. Evan got off work early today. I don't know what he was up to. Ashley, do you know? Ashley buried her head in her noodles, pretending she hadn't heard a thing. Ding dong. Just then, Ashley's phone, which was on the table, buzzed. She picked it up and saw it wasn't a message, but a friend request notification. Below was a note. Sister-in-law, can I add you on Messenger? In a rented apartment somewhere in New York City. What are you doing with my phone? Evan Fong emerged from the bathroom and saw his sister, who was 5 years younger and had already gotten early admission to NYU, holding his phone. He immediately rushed over and snatched it back. Eva Fong rolled over on the bed, a sly grin on her face. Bro, why are you so worked up? Got any secrets on there? Evan's phone held no secrets. If he had to name one, it would be Ashley's chat pinned to the top of his messenger. He hadn't officially told his family about her yet, so Eva was naturally in the dark. There was a 5-year age gap between them. When Evan was in 6th grade, Eva was just starting elementary school. When he went to college, she was still in middle school. Their parents both worked, so Evan was practically both a brother and a parent to her at home. Fortunately, while Eva was willful, her grades had always been excellent. In the second half of her senior year, while others were cramming for the SATs, she had already secured her spot at NYU. This time, her father was in NYC on a business trip, and after relentless pestering from his daughter, he had brought her along. I'm telling you, you only get one shot at the SATs. Even if you already have early admission, you should still take it, just as... Before Evan could finish, Eva cut him off. Are you ever not annoying? I'm going to sleep. Evan sighed and reluctantly left his room, collapsing onto the single bed he'd just set up in the adjacent storage room. The moment he was gone, Eva grabbed her own phone and opened Messenger. The friend request had been accepted, and the other person had already sent a message. You might have the wrong person. Eva smiled as she typed, Nope, I don't. Ashley quickly replied, Do you know me? Eva, no. Eva, but Evan is my brother. Ashley, on her way back to the hotel, froze when she saw the message. Before she could recover, Eva sent a rapid-fire series of new messages. Eva, how did you and my brother meet? Eva, how far have you two gone? Eva, are you in the same company as my brother? Ashley replied to each one. A friend introduced us. We just made it official. No, Eva, sister-in-law, where do you work? I'll come find you tomorrow. Ashley was at a loss for how to respond. How could the brother be such a straight-laced tech nerd, while the sister was a social butterfly? Were they really related? Ashley thought for a moment and replied, "Don't you have school?" "Eva, I got early admission to NYU." While Ashley was staring blankly at her phone, Sophie, sitting next to her, had already peeked at their chat. While Ashley was distracted, Sophie even scrolled up through the conversation. By the time Ashley realized what was happening, Sophie had snatched the phone away. "What are you doing?" "Well, are you going to reply to her?" Sophie quickly took over, sending Eva the address for YW and typing, "I work here." Eva quickly replied with an okay. Sophie handed the phone back to Ashley, grinning mischievously. Evan went to Stanford, and his sister got into NYU. They're a family of geniuses. You better step up your game, Ashley. Try to have a baby who can get into Stanford or NYU, too. Ashley looked helpless. "Sophie, you've changed." "How have I changed?" "In our freshman and sophomore years, you were so polite and reserved. Now you have no shame at all." Sophie couldn't argue with that, so she just giggled. That night, Evan and Ashley chatted for a while as usual. Ashley asked him, "How come you got off work so early today?" Evan answered honestly, "My dad's here on a business trip, and he brought my sister along. They're only here for 2 days. They leave the day after tomorrow." Ashley didn't tell Evan that his sister had added her on Messenger, and Evan didn't mention Eva at all. They talked until 11 and then wished each other good night. The next day, Evan woke up early, cooked breakfast for both of them, and, after hastily eating his own, told Eva not to wander off before heading to work with his laptop. Eva leisurely finished her breakfast, then copied the company address Ashley had sent yesterday in her map app. Seeing that it was only a half-hour trip, she quickly sent a message. "Sister-in-law, what time do you start work?" "Ashley, 10. Eva followed up, "Will I be bothering you if I come over?" The live streaming department at YW had been spun off into its own division, and its tasks were relatively simple. In the morning, they usually just reviewed the previous day's live stream and prepared for the next one. There wasn't much else to do. Besides, Wyatt was the acting boss of the company. With that connection, Eva coming to see Ashley would naturally not be a problem. Ashley thought about it. What Leo had said yesterday, that if she could get on good terms with Evan's family ahead of time, meeting his parents later wouldn't be so awkward, made sense. So she quickly replied, "No, you won't." "Eva, okay, I'll be there in a bit. Wait for me, sister-in-law." Ashley clearly wasn't used to the title sister-in-law. Her heart was already beating faster. After waiting in her room for about 10 minutes, Sophie knocked on her door. Leo then drove both of them to YW before heading to Arc Interactive by himself. Wyatt had received a message from Carla Jones last night, saying the samples for YW summer swimwear line had arrived from Riverwood, and asking if he wanted to come take a look. So today, Wyatt didn't go to see investments, but drove straight to YW. Most companies started at 9, and YW was no different, except for the live streaming department, which could come in an hour later. Wyatt had woken up a bit late today, and it was already 9:20 when he arrived downstairs. He strode into the lobby and headed straight for the elevators. At that moment, at the front desk, "Hi, excuse me, which floor is YW on?" 30th floor. "Thank you." After finding out the floor, Eva immediately ran towards the elevators. Seeing the doors about to close, she waved frantically at Wyatt inside. "Wait up." Wyatt saw her and pressed the open door button. Eva rushed into the elevator, panting a thank you. She glanced at the floor buttons and saw that 30 had already been pressed. Since there were only 2 people in the elevator, she looked up and asked, "Hey, handsome, do you work at YW?" Wyatt glanced down at the short-haired Eva, nodded, and asked back, "You too?" Eva immediately shook her head. "No, I'm here to find someone. Do you know Ashley Jean?" Wyatt paused for a moment, then replied, "I know her." "Who is she to you?" "She's my future sister-in-law." "Future sister-in-law?" Wyatt was a bit taken aback. Seeing him stunned, Eva immediately smiled. "Hey, handsome, can you call her out for me later? Just say my name is Eva Fong." "Eva Fong." "Yep, her last name is Fong." Wyatt realized what was going on and nodded with a smile. "No problem. Thanks." Ding. The elevator doors opened on the 30th floor. Wyatt walked out, knowing the way by heart. Eva immediately followed him. When she saw the company's front desk, Eva stopped at the entrance. She had only come today out of pure curiosity about what her future sister-in-law looked like. Since she was just lazing around at home anyway, she felt a bit too shy to follow Wyatt directly into the office. Wyatt strode into the company and found Ashley, who was in the middle of reviewing yesterday's live stream. He smiled. "Ashley, your sister-in-law is here to see you." "Sister-in-law?" Sophie didn't get it at first. But when she saw Ashley shoot Wyatt a glare and then get up to leave, it hit her. Oh my God, she really came? After notifying Ashley, Wyatt went to find Michael. Meanwhile, Ashley met Eva at the entrance. She had expected an awkward encounter, but Eva, the social butterfly, lit up the moment she saw Ashley. Her first words left Ashley speechless. Wow, sister-in-law, you're so pretty. Ashley still had to confirm. You're Evan's sister? MHM. Ashley smiled and gestured. Come with me. She led Eva into the office. Looking at the exquisite decor and creatively designed workstations, Eva's eyes widened in wonder. The educational environment she had grown up in was the same as most people's. Because of her excellent grades, she had always been in the best classes in both middle and high school. That kind of atmosphere could make a person numb. That was why she had begged her father to bring her to New York this time. She wanted to break out of her old rhythm and see the wider world. Sister-in-law, your company is huge. Call me Ashley. Oh, Ashley, your company is huge. I just work here. I'm not the boss. Just being able to work in a company like this is amazing. You can even see the East River from here. Does your brother know you came to see me? He doesn't know. I didn't even tell him I added you. I only found out he was dating you because I snooped through his phone last night and saw your chats. Ashley, who chased who? My brother is so dumb. It couldn't have been you who chased him, right? He's dumb. Yeah. When he's at home on vacation, all he does is tap on his computer. He doesn't do anything else. What's that if not dumb? Ashley didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How could a dumb person get into Stanford? I don't have much to do this morning, so you can just stick with me. I'll take you out for lunch. Okay. Ashley led Eva back to the conference room, found a chair for her, and had her sit down. Apart from a few floor managers, everyone else in the room was a streamer. During the live streams, they had to try on clothes, so all the streamers were stunningly beautiful, all of them over 5'3" with excellent figures. Even Eva, for a rare moment, became reserved. After reviewing yesterday's meeting, Ashley took Eva back to her workstation to look over the information for the clothes they would be presenting in the afternoon live stream and the script prepared by the floor managers. Eva didn't dare to disturb her, sitting quietly like a good little girl. But Evan, worried about Eva being home alone, was now sending her a string of messages. There's a deli to the left of our apartment complex. If I don't make it back for lunch, eat there. I'll be home at 6. You better not go running around. If you're not there and I get back, you're dead. Remember to hang up the clothes I put in the washing machine. After reading the messages, Eva couldn't take it anymore and replied, You're so annoying. I'm busy. Can you stop messaging me? What are you busy with? Answer me. Hello, Eva Fong. Eva completely ignored the messages from her brother. Seeing Ashley take a sip of water, she lowered her voice and asked curiously, Ashley, how much do you make a month working here? On a good month, I can make over 20,000. That much? Ashley smiled. It's all right. My parents' combined salary is about the same as yours. So, your salary and my brother's combined is over 50,000 a month. I wouldn't know about that. You don't even know how much my brother makes, and you're dating him? Is there a problem with that? Of course there is. You should at least find a boyfriend who's more outstanding than you. Ashley suddenly burst out laughing, then lowered her voice and asked, It's not too late to regret it now. Quick, tell me what your brother's flaws are. Hearing this, Eva immediately changed her tune. Actually, he's a pretty good guy. He's just a bit dense, a bit of a straight-laced nerd. Other than that, there don't seem to be any major problems. What are his hobbies? Just DIYing things. He put a computer motherboard in a dish soap bottle, and he turned an old laptop into a tablet. He also likes collecting all sorts of repair tools, like screwdrivers and stuff. I think there's something wrong with him. The two of them whispered for a long time. When they heard a delivery driver had arrived with their lunch, Ashley gathered her things and said to Eva, Let's go eat. Okay. Then she kicked Sophie, who was sitting across from her. Let's go, time for lunch. The three of them arrived at a restaurant. Ashley and Sophie were regulars here. Besides the cafeteria, 90% of the time they ate out, they came to this restaurant. After expertly ordering 3 of the signature dishes, Ashley handed the menu to Eva. Eva, see what you'd like to eat. I'm not a picky eater. Anything is fine. Sophie smiled. It's okay, go ahead and order. Your sister-in-law isn't short on cash. Ashley shot Sophie a look. Eva then took the pen and put a check mark on the menu. While waiting for their food, the 3 of them chatted lively. Perhaps seeing a reflection of her high school self in Eva, both Ashley and Sophie took a liking to this girl who was both smart and socially savvy. But just as Eva was complaining about her own brother, a worried Evan had already rushed back to the rental apartment. Seeing it was empty, he immediately dialed Eva's number. Eva answered and deliberately put the call on speaker. Eva Fong, where the hell have you gone? Didn't I tell you not to run around? I'm out eating. Which restaurant? I'm coming to get you. Eva immediately looked at Ashley. Ashley typed the restaurant's name on her phone and showed it to Eva, who then relayed it to her brother. After hearing the name, Evan immediately hung up. About 15 minutes later, Evan appeared at the restaurant's entrance. He scanned the room and immediately saw Ashley, Sophie, and Eva waving at him. Evan stood there stunned for a moment, then walked over, his brow furrowed. "How are you all together?" Before anyone could answer, Evan grabbed Eva's ear. "This is your doing, isn't it?" Ashley gently swatted Evan's hand away. "Why are you getting physical with your own sister?" Evan reluctantly let go of Eva's ear. She smartly moved out of the way, sitting next to Sophie on the opposite side. Evan then sat down in the empty seat next to Ashley. "Server, can we get another set of utensils, please?" Evan knew his sister well. After thinking for a moment, he pieced together what had happened. Sophie, seeing that no one was talking, decided to start a conversation. "Evan, how did you get here?" "I took a cab. Do you live far from here?" "Not far. Only about a 15-minute drive. I'm planning to buy a car this year to make my commute easier." Sophie nodded with a smile. You definitely should. Otherwise, Ashley will have no one to pick her up from work." Evan gave an awkward smile. Ashley pretended to be engrossed in her food. Just then, Eva remembered something. Taking advantage of a lull in conversation, she asked with a grin, "Ashley, who was that handsome guy I met in the elevator today?" "Which handsome guy?" "The one I rode the elevator with. The one I asked to go get you." Ashley immediately knew who she was talking about. She was talking about Wyatt. "Why do you ask about him?" "I just thought he was really handsome. Totally my type." Evan snapped. "What nonsense are you talking about? Eat your food and stop talking so much." Ashley answered honestly. "The handsome guy you're talking about. His name is Wyatt Sue." Evan was stunned. "Wyatt Sue? How old is he? Does he have a girlfriend?" Ashley and Sophie exchanged a look, then suddenly burst out laughing at the same time. Evan felt like he could die of embarrassment. He glared at his sister and said, word by word, "He's my boss." "Huh? Your boss?" Under Michael's management, Crimson Media had firmly established itself in the industry. Before, reading a novel legally could easily cost $100 or $200. While you could find pirated versions online, they were often not updated in time and frequently had garbled text or even disappeared entirely. The emergence of Crimson Media, with its free-to-read model, completely disrupted the traditional paid reading system and attracted a massive number of readers. High author benefits attracted writers. A free operational model attracted readers. As these two groups expanded, the traffic to the website and app naturally soared. Crimson Media had now squeezed into the top 6 on the iOS free app charts. The 5 apps above it were TikTok, Messenger, Venmo, Amazon, and eBay. The app's popularity was self-evident. The days passed one by one. After the rainy season, the temperature gradually began to rise. On the second to last day of April, the 29th, Wyatt and Khloe took a train back to Riverwood. Since it was Memorial Day weekend, and Miranda had already returned to Riverwood the day before, Wyatt didn't notify his dad. Miranda drove to the train station to pick them up. On the way home, Wyatt made sure to give Miranda a heads up. "Aunt Miranda, Khloe and I are going to be in Riverwood for a while this time. Before you go to Philadelphia, remember to give Khloe her birth certificate. We're going to get our marriage license in late May. The wedding will either be at the end of the year or next January." Although Miranda was prepared, she hadn't expected this day to come so soon. But she was still overjoyed. Getting a marriage license was like adding a layer of insurance to their relationship. Besides, the sooner they got it, the sooner she could become a grandmother. "Okay, you don't have to tell me. Your Uncle Charles is always at home anyway. I'm just giving you a heads up. Have you told your parents about this?" Wyatt smiled. "Not yet, but they'll definitely approve with both hands. My mom started asking people for pregnancy remedy recipes last year." Hearing this, Khloe punched him. Miranda just laughed, not interfering with their playful banter in the back seat. Back at Maple Creek Estates, during dinner, Wyatt brought up the film studio project. Hearing that Wyatt was planning to invest $100 million in Riverwood, Charles immediately asked, "Can this project make money?" "Honestly, I'm not expecting it to make a lot of money. My own company can use the film studio anyway. Beyond that, I'm more interested in building a good relationship with the higher-ups. It's hard to get things done these days without connections. As long as I make this project a success, it will make things a lot easier for me to do anything else in Riverwood in the future." "That's true," Charles nodded, taking a bite of rice. He then asked, "So this public-private partnership, how exactly will it work?" "To put it simply, we'll jointly establish a company. They provide the land, and I build the project. Once it's done, I'll be responsible for the studio's operations, and they'll send people to supervise. We'll split the profits annually according to an agreed-upon ratio." "So, where will the money be kept?" "Oh, the money has to be deposited into a supervised account. They want to ensure the project can be completed smoothly. Charles hesitated, wanting to say something but feeling too embarrassed. It was Khloe, sitting next to Wyatt, who noticed and asked, "Dad, what do you want to say?" Charles finally said it. "How about we put the money in my bank? That way, the bank won't have any pressure to attract deposits this year." Wyatt smiled. "That shouldn't be a problem. I'll contact them later." Miranda let out a cold laugh from his side. Hearing her, Charles managed a rare, thick-skinned smile. "We're all family now. It's normal for him to help out with my work, isn't it?" Miranda placed a piece of meat in Wyatt's bowl, not even bothering to look at him. After lunch, Wyatt drove Charles's car back to the neighborhood where he grew up. Looking at the damp, gloomy environment, Wyatt felt it was necessary to buy a new house for his parents in Riverwood. Even if he only stayed a few days a year, they could live there. With this thought in mind, Wyatt quickly went upstairs. After knocking on the door, he saw that only his mom was home. "Mom, where's Dad?" "Gone fishing. Didn't I say I was coming back today?" Couldn't be helped. His boss from work invited him. It was hard to refuse. Wyatt quickly caught on and smiled. Looks like Dad is finally getting some recognition from his boss. Sarah saw some white dust from the wall on Wyatt's shoulder and walked over to pat it off. "It's all thanks to my son." Wyatt took the opportunity to say, "Mom, let's buy a new house in Riverwood." "Okay." Sarah agreed so readily that Wyatt was a bit taken aback. Sarah smiled and explained, "The older generation always talks about returning to their roots. You can't stay in New York forever. And when you and Khloe get married, you'll need a new house. It's not like our family can't afford it now. Mom, let's get a really nice one then." "Whatever you say." "Mom, you have more white hair." "I've had white hair for a while now." "Did you have lunch?" "I ate at my mother-in-law's." "Mom, why are you doing cross-stitch again?" "I'm bored at home. How about I call Khloe and her parents, and we all go look at houses right now?" "Okay, let them help us pick one out. Let me drink some water first, then I'll call them." "Son, let me discuss something else with you." "What is it?" "Give me a grandchild sooner rather than later." Puffed. Wyatt wiped his mouth. "Mom, you'll have to talk to Khloe about that. I can't do a two-person job all by myself." Charles had worked in Riverwood for many years and knew many major clients, including some big real estate developers. When he heard Wyatt was planning to buy a new house, he immediately started scrolling through his contacts. Miranda, however, first asked a practical question. "Wyatt, what kind of house are you looking for? Transportation, environment, schools. Which of these factors is the priority? You need to think about that first." "I spend most of my time in New York. Here in Riverwood, it's mainly for my parents to live in. The environment is the top priority, and preferably, it should be a detached house." Charles added, "What's the budget?" Wyatt smiled faintly. "No need to consider a budget, but I estimate that the best house in Riverwood would top out at $2 million. "Not that high," Charles said. "A $1 million house is already considered top tier in Riverwood. This isn't New York. Well, the nicer the better, and preferably a bigger one, so our whole family can live there in the future." Charles nodded and finally picked up his phone to make a call. After chatting for 2 or 3 minutes, he hung up and smiled. "There's a private house for sale right in the city. It's listed for $980,000 with a yard of almost half an acre. The bottom line is $800,000. Also, at the foot of Lunar Mountain, there's a villa complex called Sunset Hills Estates. The environment there is great, with a plot ratio of only 0.48. There are several houses for sale." Sarah finally spoke up. "Why don't we go see them in person?" "All right." So, Charles drove with Wyatt in the passenger seat, and Miranda, Sarah, and Khloe in the back. The 5 of them first went to the private villa. An agent was already waiting for them at the gate. The villa had clearly been vacant for a long time. The plants in the yard were withered and dead, devoid of any life, but the yard itself was indeed huge. If it were laid with lawn, it could be considered a small garden. Inside, the villa had a stuffy, musty smell, likely from not being ventilated for a long time. Charles lowered his voice and said to Wyatt, "This house was originally bought by a government official in a relative's name. It was never lived in. After his case came to light, the house was sold once. The current owner is having cash flow problems with his business. He took out $1 million loan from my bank, but it wasn't enough, so now he's planning to sell this house too." Wyatt nodded and led the group on a tour of the house, upstairs and down. From the outside, it looked like 3 stories, but there was actually a basement level dedicated to entertainment, with a wine cellar, a movie room, and a karaoke room. "Should we go check out Sunset Hills Estates?" "Okay." The 5 of them looked around, then drove to the Sunset Hills Estates villa complex at the foot of Lunar Mountain. The sales staff must have been notified in advance, as they were waiting at the entrance. 2 female agents, both dressed in tailored suits, though their pants were a bit short, revealing stretchy black stockings at the ankles. "Welcome to Sunset Hills Estates. "Sir, ma'am, this way, please." Both agents seemed to assume that Charles was the one buying the house, and that Wyatt and Khloe were just his son and daughter. You couldn't blame them. Wyatt looked very young, not like someone who could afford a house here. Charles, on the other hand, was different. Because of his job, he wore a suit year-round, looking every bit the wealthy tycoon. Not to mention Miranda next to him, decked out in designer brands, exuding an air of wealth. The two agents first took them to the sales office, brought over several floor plans, and knelt beside Charles and Miranda, chattering on and on. After listening for a while, Charles finally pointed at Wyatt and said, "He's the one buying the house. We're just here to offer our opinion." The female agent glanced at Wyatt, completely baffled. At this point, Sarah finally spoke up. "Oh, it's all the same if you show it to us. We'll all be one family in the future anyway." Hearing this, the agent had a moment of clarity and finally figured out the relationship between the five of them. The older couple were clearly husband and wife. The young man and the middle-aged woman next to him were mother and son, and the pretty young woman was the couple's daughter. So the real buyers were Wyatt and Khloe. The two agents immediately moved over to Wyatt and continued their spiel. Wyatt smiled. "Let's just go see the houses in person. Of course, please follow me." The houses here looked much newer than the last one, but the living space was smaller and the so-called green environment was all shared. The prices were similar, starting at $888,000, but the bottom line was likely between $700,000 and $800,000. Although it was close to Lushan Mountain, how many times a year could one really go hiking there? So Wyatt still leaned toward the first house. It was older, but the foundation was solid. With a new renovation, it would be completely different. Most importantly, the annual property management fees here were not a small sum. Although money was practically just a number to Wyatt now, he still felt it was best to manage his own home. Having a property management company involved felt less comfortable. "Well, we'll go back and think about it. If we decide to buy here, we'll come back. Of course, please take your time." Back in the car, the family started talking. Charles was the first to give his opinion. "I think both houses are pretty similar. The first one is older, this one is newer, but one is bigger and one is smaller. We don't have that many people, though, and a bigger house will be a hassle to clean." Miranda immediately followed up. "A house should definitely be bigger." Sarah muttered under her breath. "The renovation will probably cost a lot of money." Wyatt turned to look at Khloe and asked, "Khloe, which one do you think is better?" Khloe was at a loss for words, not knowing what to say. She couldn't make up her mind either. So she threw the question back to Wyatt. "I don't know. Which one do you think is better?" Wyatt didn't hesitate. "I think the first one is better. The age of the house doesn't really matter, since we'll be renovating it anyway after we buy it. It's in the city, so life will be more convenient. This place is a bit far out, and my mom doesn't drive. She can't just call my dad every time she needs to go out." Khloe blurted out, "I'll go with whatever you think." The car fell silent. Sarah and Miranda were just smiling, not saying a word. Charles sighed to himself. "Oh no, my daughter is a complete and utter hopeless romantic." Charles already knew the bottom line price of the house. Since they had decided to buy it, it was best to settle it quickly. So the group returned to the first house, paid a deposit, and arranged to complete the transfer of ownership when the homeowner arrived the next day. In the evening, the five of them went to a restaurant in the city for dinner. Just as Sarah was about to pick up her chopsticks, Wyatt suddenly called out, "Mom, what is it? Did we forget something?" "What? Where's Dad?" "We're out eating dinner. What's Dad going to eat tonight?" Sarah, finally realizing, said with some embarrassment, "You should call your dad and ask him if he wants to come over." Wyatt picked up his phone and sighed. "Mom, what does Dad even see in you?" Sarah smacked him on the back of the head. "Make your call and stop talking nonsense." The next day, Wyatt spent the entire day running around with the agent and finally managed to get the house transferred before Memorial Day. The house in New York had been signed for in a bit of a rush, so it was only registered under Wyatt's name. But this house, Wyatt registered directly under Khloe's name. When it came time to sign, both Sarah and Miranda were present. Miranda initially disagreed, saying they weren't married yet and it wasn't appropriate. But then Wyatt explained that since he already had a property in his name, registering this one under Khloe's would save them on some taxes. With Sarah also persuading her, Miranda finally gave in. Khloe, however, didn't think it was a big deal. When Wyatt told her to sign, she signed. When he told her to leave a fingerprint, she did. Over the 3-day Memorial Day weekend, Wyatt arranged for 4 well-known local design firms to come to the house to measure and design, publicly stating that he would use the best initial design proposal. After handling that, Wyatt took his parents to the hospital. His aunt helped pull some strings, and they spent the morning getting a full physical for both of them. The final result was that there were no major issues, just that David's blood sugar was a bit high and Sarah's blood pressure was a bit high. But his aunt said that these were common problems for middle-aged people and told Wyatt not to worry. On the last day of the holiday, a finally free Wyatt took Khloe and Riley out for an afternoon of strolling around the city. They bought freshly made turnip cakes and their favorite candied chestnuts. Finally, Wyatt took Khloe for a walk around his old high school. But his memories of high school had faded. Even though it had only been 4 years for Wyatt, it felt like more than a decade had passed. So they only took a quick tour. On the way home, Wyatt said, "I have to go to the YW factory tomorrow, so I won't be able to see you. You should rest at home for a day and spend some time with your parents." Okay, Khloe nodded obediently. After all, she didn't get to be home very often throughout the year. During Memorial Day, Investments, Arc Interactive, and Crimson Media were all closed for the holiday, but they all had someone on duty. Michael, who had been working intensely for a month, finally got a good rest during these 3 days. On the last day, Isabel, for some unknown reason, insisted on showing off her cooking skills to Michael. She spent the better part of the day busy in the kitchen before finally calling him out of his room. The moment Michael stepped out of his room, he was hit by a pungent smell. He pinched his nose and asked, "What did you make? Why does it smell so strong? Don't be picky. I worked hard on this for so long. You have to eat all of it today." Michael walked forward with heavy steps, glanced at the dining table, and his eyes widened. There were only 3 dishes on the table: steamed oysters, stir-fried eggs with chives, and a yam and pork rib stew. The chive and egg stir-fry was reasonable, a common home-cooked dish, but the steamed oysters were a bit much. Most people would steam 7 or 8 at most. Isabel, on the other hand, had steamed 20, barely fitting them on a fish platter. The yam and pork rib stew was even more outrageous. The entire surface of the soup was covered with a thick layer of goji berries, and not just the red kind, but half were black goji berries. The presentation was truly unappetizing. What is the meaning of this? What do you mean, what's the meaning? I saw you looking listless every day, so I made these 3 dishes to help you. Replenish. Don't you be ungrateful. No more excuses. Sit down and eat. Isabel ordered Michael to sit down, then went to the kitchen to get a bowl and specifically ladled out a bowl of the pork rib stew for him. Michael reluctantly took the spoon side and said, "Isabel, what if we had a baby? Why bring this up all of a sudden? If you get pregnant, I can take a break." Michael said, not meaning a word of it, "My parents are always bugging me. I have no objections as long as your bullets are effective." Michael's face darkened again. He thought, when have my bullets ever not been effective? Also, Isabel suddenly said, "Stop complaining to Wyatt about how I treat you. You may have no shame, but I do. Don't blame me for your own shortcomings." Michael played dumb. "What are you talking about? I didn't say anything. Forget it. I won't argue with you. I've told the other 3 plenty about you anyway." Michael nearly spat out a mouthful of soup. He immediately demanded, "What did you tell Khloe, Ashley, and Sophie?" "Nothing. Don't you know you're not supposed to air your dirty laundry in public?" "Oh, so you do know it's dirty laundry?" Arguing with a woman was a losing battle. Michael sighed and obediently shut his mouth. Isabel got a bowl for herself and ladled a small amount of soup. But after 2 sips, she immediately ran to the kitchen, took a block of hot pot base from the fridge, and threw it into the soup bowl. "I have 2 things to tell you. 1 good news, 1 bad news. Which do you want to hear first?" "The bad news." "The bad news is, I've decided to sleep in a separate room from you starting today." "So what's the bad news?" "What bad news?" "That is the bad news." Michael was thrilled. "That's clearly good news." Michael, May 5th was the day of Riverwood's 2018 Global Investment Conference. Wyatt had received an invitation before returning from New York. Formal events like this required a suit, but Wyatt hadn't brought a tie with him on this trip. So, first thing in the morning, he drove to Maple Creek Estates. Khloe was surprised to see him. "Why are you here so early? Weren't you supposed to go to a meeting in the city?" "I don't have a tie." "Wait here. I'll get one from my dad's room." "Okay." In a moment, Khloe came downstairs with a handful of ties, a rainbow of colors and styles. In the kitchen, Charles looked on helplessly, thinking to himself, "She's really choosing him over me, rating my ties without even asking. Which one do you want to wear?" "I'm good with any of them." "Don't move. Let me see which one goes best with your suit." Wyatt stood obediently while she held up ties against his chest. "This gray one suits you best. Let's go with this one then. Sit down. I'll do it for you." Khloe quickly began tying the tie for him. Just then, Miranda came out of the kitchen, smiling. "Wyatt, have you eaten?" "Not yet. Just whip something up for me. I'll have a quick bite and be on my way." "All right." Miranda went back to the kitchen and whispered to Charles, "I didn't make enough noodles. Give your bowl to Wyatt. I'll make you another one. He takes and he eats." "Why should I?" Miranda looked Charles up and down, stifling a laugh. Have you still not figured out your place in this family? Charles shook his head in exasperation. I must have owed you 3 in a past life.